The story begins with several thunderstorms over the sect. The smiling protagonist says that they did well to block this last blow. However, he states that there will be no obstacles in his ascension to immortality. Soon, he affirms that from this point on, he will enter the land of the immortals and obtain his immortality. A beautiful maiden on a platform of petals says, "At the lowest depth of the underworld, the fire of the spirit, messenger of light, a drop to reach 1,000 miles, a cut to reach the heart, the ascended talisman without delay, follow your order." Then, she conjures her divine thunder technique upon him. The powerful force falls upon him, making him kneel. Pointing her blade at him, she says that he insists on trying to defeat her master. Clenching his teeth, he states how she dares to interrupt the ceremony of his ascension. Then he asks if she really does not believe that he would kill her, and if she truly trusts her power to dominate him. Soon, he begins to gather his strength in his hand, but he did not expect a surprise attack from another person, who strikes his chest. The girl who hit him with her hand mocks his pathetic expression and questions how he could humiliate her master in this way. Then she tells her sister that, even though her master has committed thousands of sins, they should let him leave this world with dignity. He is frustrated by this surprise attack. Still frustrated, he comments to them that he never treated them unfairly for years. He never thought they would betray him in this way. Furious, he says that since it will be this way, he plans to take them with him. Then, releasing a strong energy over the ground, an enormous golden object with Japanese words descends from the sky to stop him. This treasure is called the copper coin, an extremely valuable treasure. After falling from the sky, this treasure lands on him, restraining him. Upon receiving the treasure's blow, he realizes that another person has betrayed him. Zhuer, also an acquaintance of his. Seeing that they all betrayed him, he questions where the rest of his disciples are, who likely also betrayed him. Then, from the shadows, his remaining disciples emerge, revealing themselves to their master. While everyone thought he would show regret, he starts laughing. After laughing in a way that demonstrates his madness, he asks how they dare to truly look down on him. Clasping his hands, he says that no matter what they planned, if they wish to take his life, they will have to try. Then, once again, he begins to release an overwhelming energy that takes the enormous form of an Asura engulfed in flames. He could be seen throughout the entire sect due to his size. Soon, he unleashes his infernal wrath against all his disciples. His disciples are surprised by the strength he has shown. They also realize that he is planning to self-destruct. His disciples, seeing that there was no way to escape his destructive attack, beg their master for mercy. However, without pity, he self-destructs, devastating a part of the world. After this, suddenly, he awakens frightened and questions whether he is truly safe. Then he begins to orient himself by looking around until, looking out the window, he realizes that where he is infested with zombies. Being almost immortal, he quickly realizes that he has finally been reborn. Soon, he begins to wonder why his disciples thought of killing him and what they would gain from it. Whatever it is, the only way to get answers is to train this new body to the maximum. He then intends that when he returns to his mortal world one day, he will make sure to teach them a lesson. He sits on the ground to meditate. In his current state, he needs to progress as quickly as possible to return to his normal form. Meditating, he begins to check his spiritual power. However, he is surprised that he cannot detect it. Then he thinks that perhaps the aptitude of this body is so poor. Furious, he wonders if maybe this body does not have spiritual energy. Without spiritual power, there is no way to cultivate. And without cultivating, surviving in this world will be extremely difficult. The people the protagonist had seen fleeing from the zombies earlier enter a room where the protagonist is staying. The girl is in shock because she almost died. However, the boy, without caring about her situation, grabs her by the waist and starts taking off her clothes with ulterior motives. She seems to have forgotten what she just went through and also starts wanting to enjoy the moment. But when they were about to continue their play, suddenly, the boy's face starts to deform entirely, his flesh rotting in an instant, and he quickly turns into a zombie on top of the girl. When she realizes it, she starts kicking him away from her until she finds an opening to escape. She begins screaming for help. The protagonist hears the girl's screams. Checking his memories, he discovers that the voice of this girl belongs to his girlfriend or his lover, making the protagonist feel disgusted that people close to him also betrayed him. When he opens the door, he comes across the boy the girl was cheating on him with, devouring her right in front of him. The girl cries for help while the protagonist only watches her despair, making her fall into complete desperation as she is devoured. She screams the protagonist's name, showing that he has no mercy for those who betray him. She even curses the protagonist. However, he closes the door, leaving her to die. Instead of feeling guilty, he actually feels great. After this, he starts planning a way to escape from there. If he dies there, he will never be able to return to his past life. Then, he sits again to meditate so he can do his best. He begins to check his sea of consciousness to try to recover something that might help him regain his strength. However, with the cultivation level of this current body of the protagonist, there is no way he can consider high-level magical weapons. Then, he thinks of waiting for the opportunity and hoping for the best result. Soon, he pulls from his consciousness a low-level magical weapon called the Banner of 10,000 Souls. However, the protagonist does not seem very pleased with this weapon he obtained. Throwing it to the ground furiously, he questions whether he could not have gotten a high-level weapon. He could at least have something useful. But suddenly, in his mind, a voice says that it has been detected that the host has obtained a magical weapon called the Banner of 10,000 Souls. The host is now linked to the 10,000 Souls banner system. He observes the window in front of him. Without surprise, he thinks that the function of the banner is to collect souls. It can collect the souls of the dead and convert them into soul power for the host. The higher the level of the 10,000 Souls banner, the stronger the soul it can collect and the more spiritual power for the host. The system explains that the soul of a dead person will last 5 minutes before it disappears. Smiling at this function and alternative way of becoming stronger, the protagonist becomes excited. As with zombies, there will be no shortage of materials to obtain spiritual power. Soon, the two who were at the door next to him and turned into zombies start banging on the protagonist's door, who decides to check. After opening, he decides to help them with the banner. He pierces the heads of both simultaneously, absorbing their souls. After they die, the creatures make a horrendous noise while perishing. However, the banner grants an advancement to the protagonist. The system says that his current realm is the spiritual sea realm of 10,000 souls, and that he can currently control 2 souls. Some people are being surrounded by some zombies. The protagonist walks among the group that is fleeing from the zombies. While the others run, he walks, thinking about how weak his body is. He thinks about finding some supplies to also improve the standard of 10,000 souls. The zombies attacking people even make those who seemed nice show their true face when their lives are at risk. And when this person throws another away, it catches the protagonist's attention, who immediately looks at the lady's appearance, which strongly resembled Lin Wangqiu, making even the protagonist wonder why she is there. Automatically, he summons the standard as quickly as possible, wanting to take revenge on his disciple. He throws the standard at her, but then he decides not to hit her and instead targets the zombie that was about to attack her, knocking it back a little. He runs at full speed, catching the standard in the air, and uses the blade at the tip to cut the zombie, piercing its chest. He saves her. Kneeling, she is surprised to be saved and starts wondering who this man who saved her is. The protagonist mocks her, saying that she used her thunder technique and, in the end, ended up reduced to this miserable state. However, now she is in a weakened state before a mere zombie. He says that her master is very disappointed in her. She apparently has no previous memories, making her question what he is saying and how he knows her name if she has never seen him before. She stands up and thanks him for saving her life, then asks if she has seen him somewhere before. The protagonist observes and asks if she is trying to escape her downfall by pretending to be crazy. He points the standard at her. Confused, calling him "Sir," she says that this is not the right moment to act as if they were in a dramatic play. She says that there could be more monsters like this one there, and she thinks about leaving as quickly as possible. While observing, the protagonist wonders if he might have been mistaken. Perhaps she is not the Lin Wangqiu he knows. However, he quickly dismisses this idea, thinking it would be impossible. The woman in front of him is exactly that traitor. He would never make a mistake unless that traitor had lost her memory after coming to this world. He raises his hand and thinks about verifying it, but before he touches her, his stomach starts growling. She notices and begins laughing. With great respect, she says that if he does not mind, they can go to the large shopping center. It is not far. There, they can receive supplies, as well as stay safe. The protagonist immediately thinks that this makes sense. He considers accompanying her to see for himself. She immediately grabs his hand and starts pulling him, saying that the sooner they arrive, the more supplies they can take. The protagonist finds it suspicious but decides to follow along for now, trying to discover whether she truly lost her memories or is acting. However, regardless of whether she is acting or not, she was indeed the person who betrayed him. That will never change. He thinks that he will make her pay the price for it. Soon, they finally arrive at their destination to collect supplies. She stops and says she forgot something important, asking his name. The protagonist thinks that maybe she really is not pretending, since she is asking for his name. He looks around, and then they enter the place to hide until the rescue arrives. However, they realize that several zombies are eating the refugees who were there. Lin despairs, unable to believe what is happening and why there are so many monsters there. Suddenly, a different monster appears, repeating a phrase, asking for a 50% discount. This monster seems to be on a different level from the other zombies, even cutting down its own kind without any mercy. Watching, the protagonist comments that it is an elemental, a different and stronger monster. Lin, beside him and scared, says that this place is no longer safe. She asks to leave as soon as possible. However, the protagonist thinks differently, summoning his standard to fight the elemental monster. It is all he needs to reach level 2 of his 10,000 soul standard. He throws his weapon into the air, intending to use his new ability. As his weapon spins in the air, suddenly, 2 zombies emerge from it, turning into his puppets. The zombies he summoned are the ones he previously defeated. With this, he orders them to attack the zombies that were separated from the strongest one. His zombies, showing great agility, manage to defeat the weaker zombies easily. However, when the elemental zombie appears, the protagonist quickly acts, making his summons return as fast as possible. The elemental mercilessly slashes through the weaker zombies. The protagonist feels pity because the zombies he just killed were supposed to serve his standard. So, he intends to act as quickly as possible because his spiritual power is not abundant. The longer the battle lasts, the higher his chances of losing. He quickly crosses his fingers and begins controlling his puppets against the elemental creature. However, the creature easily defeats his first puppet with a simple attack. But with the opening created by the first puppet, he uses his second one to latch onto it. Seizing the opportunity, his puppet lands a bite on its neck, ripping a piece off the elemental monster, which roared in pain and collapsed to the ground. Finally knocked out, he immediately approached the creature and began using his abilities to absorb the elemental creature's soul. Soon, his banner released its chains against the elemental monster, binding it and forcing it to submit to the protagonist. After the absorption was successfully completed, the system congratulated him for killing the low-level zombie and upgraded his banner to the second level, increasing its ability to control 5 creatures simultaneously. The system then specified that to evolve to level 3, He needed to hunt a level 3 zombie. After reading what the system had stated, the protagonist thought that this meant he would have to face much more powerful monsters. However, he realized that his cultivation level was not much higher than the Sea Realm level. Upon seeing that he had managed to defeat the creature, Lynn happily approached the protagonist, saying that at first she thought he was crazy for acting the way he did. Soon after, some people appeared. Others commented that now that the monsters had been eliminated, they could resume distributing supplies. Several citizens began to emerge after seeing that the area was safe. Some started considering waiting for rescue. Lynn was surprised by the amount of supplies available, but before anyone could touch them, some extras appeared, asking who they were and whether they were unaware of the rules of the place. One of them claimed that since this was their territory, why would they dare to take the supplies? Other extras around them echoed the same sentiment. They even had the audacity to say that they were the ones who had managed to save those supplies from the monsters, and that they would be the ones to enjoy them. Furious, Lynn asked how they dared to say that when it was the protagonist who had saved them. One of the extras questioned how it was him and mocked his stature, calling it a joke, saying that there was no way he could have defeated those monsters alone. He admitted that it was fine to take something, but she should at least have the decency to share some credit and feel ashamed. Unable to believe what they were saying, she called them bastards. The protagonist, placing a hand on her shoulder, told her to calm down and commented that it was fine. Since ancient times, money has attracted people's hearts. However, they should know that benefits cannot be gained simply by relying on words. With a tearful expression, Lynn said that it was unfair, that he had defeated those monsters, and now these people were getting a free deal while also mocking them. The protagonist released his aura and stated that only the weak were truly rational, but strength was the real truth. Taking a step forward, he declared that he would take the supplies now and questioned who was in favor and who was against it. Some fools opposed him, even threatening the protagonist, believing their numbers gave them an advantage. Confident that they could stand against him, the protagonist immediately sent them to hell, summoning his elemental zombie and declaring that all the supplies would be his. Just by the presence of the monster, the extras were struck with shock and immense fear. Some, overwhelmed with terror, even pleaded for mercy. However, showing no pity, he had his creature tear them apart instantly. For the ones who remained, he questioned again whether anyone would oppose him. Their reaction was clear. They began to obey and fell silent. He then told Lynn to take whatever she wanted. Determined that she was doing the right thing, she took the lead and began collecting the supplies, while the protagonist retrieved his zombie. As she selected the supplies, Lynn asked if he wasn't going to take anything for himself. Smiling, the protagonist replied that he had saved her life and asked whether, if he requested her to carry some supplies for him, she would be willing to do so. Under normal circumstances, the old Lynn would have never accepted such a request. This question was designed to reveal Lynn's true nature. However, what the protagonist didn't expect was for her to accept so easily. Without hesitation, she picked up a backpack and started packing supplies into it. Slightly frustrated, the protagonist remarked that perhaps her appearance was really just a coincidence. After filling the backpack, she said it was all set and asked if they should stay there until the rescue arrived. The protagonist stated that he was going to hunt stronger zombies and that she needed to carry the supplies. She agreed and began following him on this adventure. As soon as he turned his back, the extras began cursing the protagonist. Some even planned to report him to the authorities as soon as the rescue team arrived. However, they soon remembered the remaining supplies and started fighting over them. What they didn't expect was that the protagonist had left some of his other summons behind, knowing they would argue over the leftovers, demonstrating that he truly understood human nature. The extras fight over the contents of the supply boxes. They fight tirelessly for supplies, demonstrating the true nature of human beings. An angry man claims to have taken the materials first. The man who is held to the old man is amazed to look behind the old man who is holding him. A close-up of the old man's eyes, which are wide open, showing clear terror. He falls to the ground in total terror and shaking. The old man is shocked and outraged, asking how this is possible and why this is still happening. Soon everyone runs in despair and anguish for their lives, which are hanging by a thread, because those creatures have returned to torment them. Just like a blade, they are both cut, leaving only screams of horror to escape from the warehouse. A crying woman laments who can save them now, while expressing her fear of dying, but she is already practically lifeless. The monster, with his evil smile, steps on the woman who is crying out to stay alive. After stepping on its head, it explodes with blood everywhere. The protagonist walks through the destroyed city, emitting his bright green energy, while holding his staff. He claims that nipping problems in the bud will cause fewer problems later. He also says that he can now only control 3 zombies at the same time. The excited blonde woman shouts. However, he ignores it because he thinks he can only avoid threats temporarily and needs to keep a low profile until he levels up. The blonde woman calls him Lord Sube and comments that he should wait for her. She repeats in a pleading tone. The protagonist says he is busy and has no time to waste on her, threatens to leave her if she wastes time again. The blonde woman thinks that Lord Sube would never abandon her. The protagonist smiles. He just says, "Oh." The protagonist questions the blonde woman's trust. He argues that they are not relatives or friends, so why would he abandon her? The woman asks where the powerful zombie the man is looking for is. The protagonist shows surprise at the woman's question. The woman asks if he knows the whereabouts of advanced zombies, and explains that he didn't stay at the school because of a monster near the artificial lake that gives off a special smell. The woman thinks she doesn't know which monster he's looking for, but he looks dangerous. The protagonist thinks to himself whether the dangerous type is a mutant beast and that, if so, it is necessary to investigate. He tells the woman to guide him, as she seems to have some valuable information. He tells the woman not to walk in front of him and that he will show the zombie the way. The scene shows a group of zombies. The woman looks at something while he follows her. He asks what the woman's intention is in constantly walking and stopping. The girl asks the protagonist to be quiet, as many people at school have turned into monsters, and it is difficult to deal with them if he accidentally provokes them. The protagonist says that the monsters aren't that much of a problem, and that he doesn't have much time to waste. He thrusts his spear into the ground hard. The protagonist orders others to eliminate obstacles, then his summons run towards them. The girl comments on the protagonist's strength, questioning how dominant he is. The monsters are defeated, with blood and bodies scattered across the ground. The protagonist thinks about what happened to the world and why so many people became monsters. He notes that there are still living people nearby. The girl is surprised by a familiar voice. 3 men fight a crowd of zombies, shouting at them to get out of the way. A zombie attacks the young man who repels him with a bat. The zombie growls. The young man fights other zombies, screaming for him to go to hell. There are other zombies around. The young man hits the zombie with the bat. Several young people fight against a zombie, using sticks to hit it. A zombie jumps at the young people. The young man shouts a warning. The zombie ties up one of the young men, who gets into a physical fight with the zombie. One of the young people kills the zombie. Another young man orders an immediate retreat, as the monsters are many. One of them ponders the impossibility of fighting them. The girl is worried about the presence of Guming and Li Mingong in that place. The protagonist says he knows one of the two, as he is a classmate at school. The protagonist expresses surprise and asks if she expected him to save the others. There is a tone of challenge in the question. She holds the protagonist's hand tightly. She pulls him away, saying they need to go quickly before the monsters find them. The rush and danger are evident. The protagonist wonders if she won't save her classmates. The question implies that he should help. He asks for help, but the man says he cannot allow himself to be put in danger, even if he can help them under certain conditions. The protagonist says that the words could never have been spoken by someone who betrayed him, and that the woman appears to be just a normal girl. The zombie's body shouts someone's name, Lin Wankyu. They beg for help, saying they can't stand it alone anymore and need her help. He says he is dragging them into a dangerous situation. His anger and frustration are clear. The group of zombies are in the schoolyard, while they are at a safe distance. The group of zombies attacks the extras. The woman is terrified. She asks if the zombies are coming towards them. The woman is desperate and apologizes. She says it was all her fault and apologizes. The protagonist tells her to take a step back. The protagonist claims that the demon king of the 9 Netherlands himself was murdered. He confronts the dead creatures, calling them disgusting. He questions whether these enemies are worthy of him to kill. The protagonist orders his zombies to kill. Your zombies attack others in a brutal way. The fight continues. The group of zombies surround and riot over the prota's creatures. But zombies emerge. A system message indicates that there are 2 manipulable corpses. The protagonist expresses his irritation with a tiatsk. He says that dealing with 10 zombies at the same time is their limit and that they need to find a way to fend them off to survive. She asks the protagonist if he can do something. He calls her by name and she says she needs help. The protagonist says he will drive away the zombies if the woman finds something that makes a lot of noise. The woman thinks of something that makes a lot of noise. She shows him a cell phone and asks if it is used to make noise. He shows surprise. The protagonist looks at his cell phone, saying, "Let's see." Soon they press the play button. Soon the phone starts playing super loud music by Pablo Vittar. The crowd of zombies follows them in the direction of the music. The protagonist's zombie reappears again, attacking the smaller zombies. He holds the cell phone. The woman is scared as zombies approach. The protagonist says, "What a great magic weapon." And when all the zombies come together, he throws the cell phone away. Several zombie hands reach up because of the phone that is flying. While the cell phone flies, the protagonist's creature catches it in the air. The protagonist with his staff in hand shouts, "Come on." He fights several zombies using his chain gun. He holds his staff against the crowd. The woman appears shocked, expressing surprise and disbelief with the phrase, seriously, is it working?" The protagonist holds her hand tightly. He tells the woman to leave. She begs him to slow down. Shows the building where they are going. The woman sits strongly on the floor. The woman is lying on the floor, panting. He thanks her for her help and says she couldn't have gotten there without her. She says it's okay, and that she will help her find advanced zombies to save their lives. 3 men suddenly appear from a door. A man claims that everyone was saved thanks to something that happened. Otherwise, he would have to explain why he couldn't protect them. A man looks at her with her backpack. He calls her by name and says he's glad she was saved. Spotting the girl, one of the guys asks if Lin Wonkyu has returned with supplies. Another colleague celebrates, saying that they are now safe. Opening Lin Wenkyu's backpack, the boys are surprised by the amount of items. One of them comments that there really is a lot of stuff in there. Annoyed, she stops the students from picking up things and explains that it was Subai who got the supplies. Therefore, you do not have the right to distribute them. With an irritated expression, the boy questions her logic. He argues that it makes no sense to divide between mine and yours. Now, he insists that she deliver the supplies quickly because other students need them. Trying to calm the situation, another student asks them to stop arguing. He mentions that the place is not safe. He suggests going back to the classroom to think about distribution. The same student then invites Subai to join them. After all, he comments that unity is strength. The group then starts moving towards the room. Following the school corridor, the group advances together. Subai and Lin Wonkyu stay a little behind. Walking alongside the protagonist, Lin Wonkyu apologizes for what happened. She assures him that she won't let anyone take his supplies. Subai replies that everything is fine. Your only objective is to find the advanced zombie. She asks how he ensures the others will obey him. Confidently, Lin Wonkyu tells Subai not to worry. She mentions that there are many teachers among the survivors, so the other students wouldn't dare to cause trouble. Snickering, Subai seems to doubt her confidence. Next to him, the girl just smiles slightly. Walking a little further ahead, the student who argued earlier mumbles. He says they better not dare. After all, he clearly saw that the backpack was full of food. Thoughtfully, the same boy calculates that with those supplies, they could survive for at least a month, enough time for rescue to arrive. Another whispering wonders if Lin Wonkyu would agree to his plans, and also questions what Subai is up to. The bespectacled student, who previously seemed appeasing, adjusts his glasses with a mischievous smile. He says, "I'm entering their territory." The bespectacled student believes that now they cannot refuse. If they cooperate, perhaps they will receive something, otherwise things could get complicated. Arriving at the door of room 108, Le Mingxuan tells him it's him, and that they're back with supplies. A teacher with glasses quickly opens the door, relieved. She thanks God that they are back, and anxiously asks where the supplies are. Entering the classroom, the group comes across the other survivors. All eyes turn to them and Lin Wonkyu's backpack. Su-bai observes the survivors in the room. He wonders how they have survived until now. It seems like the zombies haven't appeared a long time ago. The teacher asks Lin Wangqiu to distribute the supplies quickly. One survivor comments that they haven't eaten in 3 days. Somewhat reluctantly, Lin Wangqiu agrees to share. Bending over the backpack, Lin Wangqiu tells him that he will only give half of the supplies. The other half belongs to Su-bai, so they can't touch it. One of the survivors questions why Su-bai would need so many supplies. He then offers to pay for the food. The boy insists that he will pay 10 times the market price. He directly asks Su-bai if he minds. With a slight smile, Su-bai replies that he has no objections. Satisfied, the survivor praises Su-bai, calling him smart. He approaches the backpack to get the supplies, saying, "Let's see." Suddenly, the boy's face shows pure shock. Something seems to have stopped him abruptly. Su-bai intervenes with his weapon, forcing the student to retreat. Behind him, a sinister figure appears as he states that it actually does matter. The sinister creature appears, causing total panic in the room. The survivors scream in despair, asking where the monster came from. One of them points out that it's Li Mingxuan's fault for bringing him. Su-bai quickly approaches the frightened student. With his skull weapon, he pressures the boy and asks if he is responsible. Grabbing his collar, Su-bai coldly accuses him, "You eliminated 2 of my undead and still wanted my supplies." The student stutters, asking to please talk. Out of patience, Su-bai throws the student hard. He flies backwards, falling to the living room floor. Approaching, the protagonist steps on the chest of the fallen boy. The survivor screams in pain and fear from the pressure. Looking down from above, Su-bai questions with a threatening tone, "Tell me, should I end you right now? Or maybe take your soul to make up for my loss?" Desperate, the student on the floor begs his friends, "Zhang Hao, Guming, help me ask for mercy," and says they came up with that plan together. The other colleagues quickly place all the blame on him. "Mr. Su-bai, it was all Li Mingxuan's idea. We didn't know. They ask to be released because they are irrelevant." Li Mingxuan faces his former companions completely betrayed. He shouts that he fought for the supplies for them. Now they treated him that way, abandoning him there. Seeing that he would have no help, he turned to Lin Wangqiu. "Please help me, I was wrong, I don't want anything else." He begs for forgiveness while Su-bai watches him coldly. Coldly watching Su-bai wonder what Lin Wangqiu would do. He questions whether the ruthless girl would act. Lin Wangqiu sighs heavily for a moment. She seems to be considering the situation complicated. Kneeling down, she asks Su-bai to forgive Li Mingxuan. For everyone's sake, she offers her own share of the supplies. Su-bai notices that her nature doesn't seem to match. Maybe she only resembles the other person superficially. In this case, he thinks he no longer needs to keep her around. The protagonist lifts his foot once again over the fallen student. The intention to finish the boy is clear. Declaring the end of the agreement, Su-bai prepares to leave. He says that Lin Wangqiu has found his companions, and it is time to say goodbye. Your next mission is to find the advanced zombie. Lin Wangqiu quickly grabs his arm to stop him. She desperately asks for a minute. The girl claims that she might know where the monster is. Surprised, Su-bai turns to her. The protagonist asks if she saw the creature. She denies seeing it but felt something strange at school. The aura this thing emitted left her terrified. Lin Wangqiu admits that he doesn't know if he is the advanced zombie. Su-bai considers this new information carefully. Su-bai then remembers the innate spiritual physique, a special body that can sense spiritual power. Surprised, he thinks if this woman, it's really that person from the past. The scene changes to the original world of immortality, a mountainous and energetic place. There we see Wangqiu approaching his master. She claims to have found what he wanted. The master hands her a peculiar item. It looks like a root or a special type of plant. Holding the item, the man seems curious. He asks the girl to tell him how she found him. Placing her hands on her stomach, she concentrates. The young woman seems to gather her strength to explain. Kneeling, Wangqiu reveals his innate ability. She was born with the ability to track and capture shadows. Satisfied, the master finally accepts her. From that day onwards, she would be his second disciple. The girl humbly thanks for the chance. Wangqiu reinforces that his life belongs to his elders. Humbly, Wangqiu bows before his new master. The master touches the girl's chin. She seems surprised by the sudden gesture. He asks if she will still call him older. Stammering, the young woman responds by calling him master. Thinking he notices that she has lost her memory, even so, he calls her to be stand of 10,000 souls. Back to the present, he extends his hand to Wangqiu. Su-bai orders her to become his servant and suffer eternally. The boy holds the girl's wrist tightly. Scared, Wonkyu holds Subai's hand. She warns that something terrible is coming and they need to leave soon. Surprised, Subai just stares at the girl in silence. A slight smile appears on the protagonist's face. The protagonist is laughing out loud. Wonkyu doesn't understand anything in the classroom. Subai thoughtfully notices the girl's rare spiritual body. It would be a waste to eliminate her now. Better to use her as a chess piece. When it loses its value, it becomes the banner of 10,000 souls. Suddenly, a monstrous greenish foot lands on the roof of the building. Up there, a bizarre lizard watches everything. The place seems to emanate spiritual power. Fortunately, those who don't have power don't become one of these things. Half human, half ghost. Crouching, the lizard monster appears ready to attack. He hopes not to be disappointed. Something hits the ground with force, creating a crack. Crossing the concrete, the giant lizard invades the place. Pieces of ceiling fly everywhere. Observing, Subai wonders if this is the creature Wonkyu mentioned. It would be a mutated serpent demon. Yet something feels strangely familiar to him. Below, chaos ensues with the giant monster. Students run around desperate and confused. Screams echo asking where the freak came from. Nobody wants to be left behind. Desperate, some students try to force a door. Cursing, they realize that it won't open. Inside the room, Wonkyu points to the creature. She warns Subai that she saw him earlier at the artificial lake. The girl confirms that the smell is identical. There is no mistake. Subai wonders how this thing has spiritual energy. It's definitely no ordinary mutant beast. Perhaps it is a monster from the world of immortality. He wonders how he got here. The creature comments that the place has no aura, yet it is full of worms that are neither human nor ghosts. However, the place is happier than the world of immortals. The freak grabs a student with its tail. The monster says that it can take advantage of humans at will. There are no immortal cultivators on the path. This snack will last for many days. Holding the human aloft, the creature prepares itself. The student screams desperately for help. He begs because he doesn't want to meet his creator. Desperately, a woman begs Subai. She calls him a colleague asking to save the student. As long as he doesn't take damage, she will do anything. The protagonist remains silent for a moment. He then questions what their life or passage has to do with him. The girl offers money, saying she can pay for the protection. Subai refuses, saying he is not interested in these things. But he warns them not to worry, because if they leave, he will take their souls. Hearing this, the lizard monster seems to react. A strange sound echoes around the place. Suddenly, the creature opens its eyes wide in surprise. A blurred figure quickly advances towards you. The figure hits the lizard monster's head squarely. The impact is strong and direct. With force, the lizard monster is thrown to the ground. The impact creates a small crater and scatters debris across the room. The mysterious figure lands on the back of the downed creature. Its long claws stand out in the dynamic pose. Standing on the lizard, we can better see the attacker. He seems to absorb something from the defeated monster beneath his feet. A close-up reveals the lizard's wide eye, surprise and shock written across his reptilian expression. By grabbing him, the reptile attacks him and demonstrates his superior strength. Lifting the lizard's inert body, the attacker displays it. Subai and Wonkyu watch the scene closely. The lizard monster thinks in surprise about the aura present. He confirms that he felt spiritual energy and did not expect cultivators there. Subai watches the new monster holding his spear. He assesses the creature as weak, but perhaps enough for something. The attacker then lunges at the lizard's head. With a quick movement, the lizard's body is thrown to the side. Turning to the creature, Subai questions if it came for him. His only option then would be to finish her off. Outside, the building shows signs of the battle. A trail of destruction cuts through the structure, indicating the force involved. Subai disdains the lizard level, calling it foundation stage trash. In the past, he wouldn't even bother attacking something like that. However, his current cultivation is only at the spiritual sea realm. Noticing the survivors, the creature clicks its tongue. They also have their uses for the monster. Collecting his souls and refining them will be enough for him to advance in level. Unfortunately, Subai admits to not being able to deal with the creature at the moment, so the survivors will have to fend for themselves. However, he offers an alternative if you are willing to join your banner of 10,000 souls to help you move forward. So perhaps there is a glimmer of hope for them. Of course, he also mentions that they can simply decline his offer. In that case, Subai could leave and no one would be able to stop him. However, the consequences would only be for the survivors. Their faces demonstrate fear and indecision when faced with the choice. Since no one seems willing to sacrifice themselves, Subai prepares to leave. However, Wonkyu calls him by name, interrupting his exit. At that moment, the teacher grabs Wang Qiu's arm, stopping her. Teacher La holds Wang Qiu and says to leave it to her. The teacher asks Su Bai to take her students away from here. With her hand on her chest, the teacher touches a necklace. The pendant glows with a purple light. Su Bai's gaze widens in surprise. He recognizes the item as a spiritual stone. In a quick movement, Su Bai grabs the teacher's hand. He asks where she got that object. Professor Lai explains that it was something her father found by chance. This happened many years ago. Then she removes the necklace. She offers the necklace to Su Bai, saying he can have the item. In return, she only asks him to protect her students. Su Bai confirms that the item came from the immortal realm. Its quality is not low either. The spiritual power contained within it is comparable to a top-tier spiritual stone. Su Bai wonders how this item ended up in this world. This would mean that his rebirth and Lin Wangqiu's were no coincidence. If that is the case, then probably his other disciples are also in this world. Suddenly, a blue notification appears in front of the protagonist. The system has detected the spiritual stone's reaction and asks if he wants to use it. Using spiritual stones can enhance the 10,000 souls banner. This also benefits the host and increases the level of the undead by 1. Su Bai thinks he needs to get more of them. Accepting the item, Su Bai confirms that the deal is closed. He asks the girls to wait there and not run away. With an angry look, the snake monster manifests. He asks how dare Su Bai steal something that was his. The creature then goes up, calling Su Bai an immortal cultivator. The monster shouts that he will refine it in an instant. Calmly, Su Bai sits in a meditation position. He orders his summoned creature to protect him from the attack. In a blur, the creature summoned by Su Bai advances quickly. She positions herself to block the enemy's blow. A direct confrontation between the two creatures then takes place. The collision between the two beings is violent. Su Bai's lackey tries to contain the snake monster's advance. The snake monster easily stops the opponent's attack. He belittles the lackey by calling him a little thing. The snake monster lands a powerful blow on the minion. The summoned creature feels the impact. With a superior gaze, the serpent creature observes. Meanwhile, Su Bai meditates quietly. Your purple aura becomes stronger, surprising the enemy. The monster thinks he needs to end this quickly. Calling the minion a troublesome insect, the snake monster attacks again. With a scream of fury, the creature smashes the ground with its fist, hurting Su Bai's servant. The impact launches the minion into the newly formed crater. Victorious, the snake monster mocks, asking where the minion can run to now. Turning his attention to Su Bai, the monster advances, shouting that he will suffer the same fate. Stopping in front of the seated protagonist, the creature complains about the noise. With a dark face, Su Bai finally speaks. He says his banner of 10,000 souls needs a beast as a sacrifice. With a confident look, Su Bai points at the snake and confirms that she will be the sacrifice. Confused, the snake monster stares at Su Bai. The creature asks what is happening. Unexpectedly, a hand appears from behind. She grips the serpent's head tightly. Revealing his new form, the lackey holds the serpent. Now he is evolutionary class and Su Bai has reached the Foundation realm. With a glare, Su Bai orders. He orders the minion to finish off the enemy. Obeying the order, the evolved creature attacks. A powerful punch hits the snake monster's back. Without mercy, the servant bites the enemy. A red broth begins to ooze from the wound. The minion then spins around and slams the monster into the ground. The impact opens a new crater at the site. Demonstrating its strength, the creature lifts the serpent. He prepares her for another devastating blow. With violence, the minion throws the enemy. The serpent crashes into the ground with a cracking sound. After the violent throw, the serpent is thrown far away. The monster breaks through debris with the force of the impact. Desperately, the monster tries to stop. The sharp claws dig into the edge of the structure. Hanging on the building, the enemy resists. Red marks show battle wounds. From above, the minion faces his opponent. The creature admits to having underestimated evolution during the fight. However, the serpent reveals that it has its cards up its sleeve. He asks if the footman thinks he wasn't prepared. With glowing eyes, he summons reinforcements. The monster calls his family to help him against the humans. On top of a destroyed building, the greenish monster screams for his family, summoning everyone to help him wipe out the humans. Quickly, some nearby humans are brutally shot in the chest. With a sinister smile, the traitor Le Mingxuan declares that he will obey the orders received. Shocked, the surrounding survivors shout that Le Mingxuan eliminated someone. They question the reason for their actions in confusion. Imposing, Le Mingxuan remains standing over two bodies lying on the ground, demonstrating his cruelty. Revealing your true nature, the villain claims that everyone is a bunch of trash. that he's tolerated them for too long and feels great about betraying them. Facing the terrified crowd, Li Mingxuan observes the fear in the eyes of his former companions. Without hesitation, the monster charges at the defenseless humans who beg for their lives. He laughs sadistically, stating that the pleasure of controlling their destiny is incredible and that today everyone will know the end. Fallen on the floor, the teacher watches the scene in disbelief. She wonders how the situation could get to this point. At that moment, Su Dai appears accompanied by the blonde. She promptly warns him that the traitor Li Mingxuan is present at the place. With a slight smile, Su Dai comments that the situation is quite interesting, because I didn't expect to see humans willingly becoming followers of monsters. In front of several inert bodies, Li Mingxuan continues his insane speech, ordering you to eliminate more, for in the end everyone will become puppets under his banner of 10,000 souls. Boldly, the teacher stands up and confronts Li Mingxuan, demanding that he stop immediately, and stating that he will not allow him to continue his reckless actions. With disdain, Li Mingxuan grabs her by the collar. He mocks her by saying that she doesn't know what's good for herself, wondering if she has that much desire to meet her end. Preparing for the final blow, the villain smiles devilishly at the defenseless woman, and he declares that he will gladly give you that taste. Li Mingxuan advances with his claws, ready for the final blow against the teacher. At that time, the blonde goes to the teacher, advising that she should calm everyone down, because now they can only trust Mr. Su Dai. Su Dai thinks to himself, others can go, but that woman cannot. He needs it to find another spiritual stone. Suddenly, a blue energy appears in Su Dai. He summons a spear with a skull on the tip, the banner of 10,000 souls. With a command from Su Dai, the banner releases its energy, hitting the transformed humans around who fall inert. Li Mingxuan watches the scene in amazement. He wonders what the hell that gun is. Su Dai faces the traitor, stating that he waited a long time for the boss to come. Now you don't have to worry anymore. With superior air, Li Mingxuan questions what Su Dai can do, since he no longer has the monster's protection. Su Dai demonstrates his complete disregard for the villain's trust. The banner souls rush at Li Mingxuan. He shouts, asking why Su Dai wants to submit him. They invite you to join. The spectral figures grab Li Mingxuan. One ironizes. He wonders if they wouldn't be brothers forever, and now is the chance. Desperate, Li Mingxuan shouts to the souls. Ask if you haven't eliminated them. He orders them to leave, calling them wandering ghosts. With his face contorted in terror and pain, Li Mingxuan is overwhelmed by the vengeful souls. Observing the scene from afar, Su Dai remains calm, while Li Mingxuan shouts, "Damn you!" repeatedly. Surprisingly, the greenish monster appears. He questions what he sees, recognizing the banner of 10,000 souls. The green monster questions whether Su Dai really plans to use that kind of trash magic weapon against him. He still asks if Su Dai believes he is made of clay. Su Dai, surrounded by a blue aura and accompanied by his followers, counters the monster's comment. He claims that the creature still doesn't really know him. With a determined look, Su Dai declares that his banner of 10,000 souls still needs a spirit like that of the monster to serve as a sacrifice. Meanwhile, Li Mingxuan, in his altered form, desperately screams for help to his boss, the greenish monster. The green creature then reflects on his bad luck. He regrets meeting an immortality cultivator who turned out to be a demonic cultivator, finding it all very troublesome. Realizing that Su Dai has also reached the foundation building stage, the monster decides that the best thing to do is to escape. Otherwise, you will not obtain spiritual energy and will only get into more confusion. Clinging to the creature's leg, Li Mingxuan once again begs his boss to save him from the situation. Suddenly, the monster's gigantic hand grabs Li Mingxuan, who shows surprise at the unexpected action. Holding his subordinate, Li Mingxuan asks what the boss is doing. The monster responds that he gave him strength, and now. The monster completes his sentence, stating that it is time for Li Mingxuan to help him. Then he throws the traitor towards Su Dai. Su Dai watches with cold calm as Li Mingxuan flies through the air towards him. The monster comments that the idea is difficult to control and that the wind is strong, justifying the throw. With a penetrating look, Su Dai looks at the creature and simply asks if it intends to leave. In a quick movement, Su Dai asks if he gave permission for the monster to leave. The banner then advances, hitting the creature squarely. Su Dai's giant servant advances towards the green monster. The servant with its giant claws jumps towards the enemy. The servant then hits the monster with a powerful blow. The impact is so strong that it breaks the floor. The creature is thrown back violently. It passes through an entire building, causing a lot of destruction. Amidst the dust, the green monster finds himself trapped by shadowy tentacles. Su Dai then says he caught him, Several humanoid figures, looking like statues, float around. They help to imprison the creature. Sudai's giant servant appears again, crushing the green monster against the ground. The creature appears immobilized. Watching from afar, one of Sudai's followers celebrates. She shouts that Sudai has finally captured the monster. The green monster, trapped, admits defeat for today. However, he warns Sudai not to think that this will be enough to stop him. With a challenging look, the creature tells Sudai to keep dreaming if he thinks he has captured him. The monster then reveals that, like golden cicadas, it can also shed its skin. He calls Sudai and his followers fools for not expecting this. Meanwhile, Lemingxuan, now looking decrepit, runs desperately. He shouts for his boss, the green monster, to wait for him, as he hasn't left yet. However, before he can get very far, Lemingxuan is intercepted. It looks like your escape won't be so easy. Sudai's followers surround Lemingxuan, questioning whether he really thought he could escape after everything he did. One of them declares that Lemingxuan's fate is sealed and orders them to eliminate him. Desperate, Lemingxuan shouts for them not to come any closer. He threatens to wipe them all out, whether he believes in his ability or not. From afar, the screams of Lemingxuan being beaten can be heard. One of the followers then asks Sudai if he is really going to let the creature escape, and if that is right. Sudai answers the question about letting the monster escape. He says she is overestimating him too much, questioning whether a mere serpent demon can escape his spiritual block. With a serious look, Sudai declares that it is time to end this charade. Meanwhile, the green creature begins to shed its skin, revealing a new form underneath. The monster, now in its new form, celebrates having escaped. He wonders where the hell Sudai, the evil cultivator, came from and if he was also dragged to that place. The creature then says that once it leaves there, the sky will be high for birds to fly. He finishes by stating that Sudai, a mere foundation stage immortal cultivator, will never meet him. With a surprised expression, the green monster questions whether what he just heard is serious. Sudai, surrounded by his entities, asks if the monster would like to try running. He challenges you to see if you can escape the reach of your spiritual consciousness. Shocked, the creature exclaims that this is not possible and asks how Sudai found him. He even questions how Sudai's spiritual awareness can be so strong, being only at the foundation stage. Sudai, with an uncomfortable expression, simply complains about how noisy the monster is. With his staff, Sudai orders his servants to capture the creature. Immediately, the humanoid servants advance, attacking the green monster from multiple angles. The creature is grabbed by the smaller ones, and then a giant claw crushes it against a wall. Sudai's giant servant delivers a powerful punch, sinking the monster even deeper into the structure. The creature screams in pain, bound by red ribbons as Sudai watches. He claims the monster's 7 inches is sealed and challenges it to move. Enraged, the green monster shouts that they are an arrogant bunch. He adds that since they don't want to give him an easy life, they can forget about it. Suddenly, toxic green smoke is spat by the creature towards your opponent. Sudai's servant blocks the monster's attack. Sudai just calmly watches from below. Laughing, the giant monster states that even with 10,000 souls, Sudai's body barely formed its foundation. He finishes by saying that if he devours him, his puppets will have no one to move them. Sudai, with a serious look, retorts that the monster doesn't know if it lives or if it's about to leave. Firmly, he grips his staff, ready for the next action. Using his staff, Sudai attacks the monster's snake form. The snake, with a shocked expression, wonders how that could be possible. In the creature's eye, Sudai's reflection appears. She thinks that her snake shadow clone is difficult to detect even for a Yuaning stage master and questions who Sudai is. Sudai comments that the monster is very noisy. He says that if it weren't for his mouth, he would still be of some use, and that he has already scared him enough. He then orders his banner to capture the creature's soul. From Sudai's staff, blue streams of spiritual energy quickly emerge. The serpent creature is wrapped in chains, screaming that it does not accept its fate. She declares that even if she leaves, she will never surrender. The monster's greenish soul begins to be extracted by the currents. In desperation, he invites Sudai to accompany him on his departure. Observing the creature's attempt, Sudai questions whether it really wants to self-destruct in front of him. Sudai, with a golden glow on his finger, asks what would happen if this seat didn't exist. An imposing golden figure appears behind Sudai, emanating overwhelming power. The serpent, still trapped, wonders what that manifestation is. The serpent, terrified, corrects himself, asking if that is the power of a god. She questions whether she provoked a deity. Trapped by the blue chains and under the banner's skull, The creature begs to be let go, she admits her mistake, and calls out to her ancestors. Quickly, the skull atop Sudai's banner moves forward and consumes the greenish soul of the disappearing serpent. A notification appears congratulating the host for defeating an advanced creature. The 10,000 Souls banner has been improved. Another system message appears, informing that the level has risen to the 3rd. Enhanced mode has been unlocked. Sudai displays a confident smile at the news. The system explains that he can feed his undead spiritual power items to increase their level. Holding up his banner, Sudai reflects that he did not expect to directly feed the servants with spiritual stones. He realizes he can create an army quickly. As the banner emits a glow, Sudai decides that finding the spiritual stone has become a priority in his plans. With a determined look, he thinks about waiting until he has enough power to protect himself in this world. Now it's time to find your good waiters. In the destroyed school, Master Li calls for Wonkyu. She questions whether it is dangerous for Sudai to chase the monster, but Wonkyu assures her that he will be fine. Master Li notes Wonkyu's confidence and asks how she knows Sudai. The girl reveals that he saved her from a monster during the chaos. Wonkyu adds that it's a little strange. When he met Lord Sudai, he felt a strange sense of déjà vu. Suddenly, Sudai returns and Wonkyu greets him excitedly. Master Li asks if the monster hurt him in any way. With a tap on Wankyu's head, Sudai wonders if she underestimates him that much. He asks if she thinks he would get hurt by that. Discreetly, Sudai takes out a small, bright purple stone from his pocket. Showing the purple stone to the two, Sudai asks Master Li if she knows where to get more of this item. The master responds that the stone belonged to her father. She doesn't know exactly where he got it from and suggests Sudai ask him directly. Sudai then questions where her father is. Master Li proposes that if he really wants to find his father, perhaps they need to make a second deal. She reveals that the last time she spoke to her father was 3 days ago. He was trapped somewhere, and to get information, Sudai will have to help her find him. Sudai ponders whether the woman wants to use him to save people. However, he decides that as long as he discovers the whereabouts of the spiritual stone, wasting a little time is not a big problem. Wonkyu is surprised by the decision. With a serious look, he warns that if he finds out that he is being deceived, not only her, but everyone, including his father, will face the consequences. Master Li assures him that she understands and that he doesn't need to worry. She claims that her father will not disappoint him. Then, Master Li calls her classmates, announcing that they will leave with Lord Sudai. Relieved, some comment that they are finally leaving, thinking they would stay there forever. The students thank him emotionally, some even cry with relief. Suddenly, Sudai notices a group of people who could not resist the recent events. Holding up his banner, the Necromancer declares that those souls cannot be wasted. With a shout, Sudai summons the souls to join him. The 10,000 Souls banner shines brightly and blue chains emerge from it. The chains quickly wrap around the souls of the fallen, binding them. In an instant, the greenish souls are pulled into the banner while the survivors watch the scene in amazement. The skull on the banner glows with intense green eyes, emitting a high-pitched sound. A system notification appears. He gained 5 more undead and his control ability reached the maximum 10. Sudai raises the banner. The survivors, including Wonkyu and Master Li, watch the scene in amazement. A student, still shaken, asks Lord Sudai what he did with those souls. Sudai casually rests the banner on his shoulder. He explains that his nature is to make the most of everything. The souls on the banner will become puppets under your control. He then rushes the group, saying he has no time to waste. Walking through the destroyed streets, a student thanks Sudai. Without him, they wouldn't have left the room. Another comments that they would die of hunger anyway. Sudai says not to worry and take what they need. Sudai thinks to himself, his cultivation had reached the foundation, building stage, and his spiritual consciousness had partially recovered. Now he can create better magical weapons. He decides he needs to test this. Facing a blue portal, Sudai hopes to extract something useful. His hand reaches for the portal. Images of magical items like swords and talismans float from within it. His eyes glow blue as he concentrates and says, "Now." A sword appears in his hand. Wonkyu, amazed, asks if this is the work of a god, while Sudai analyzes the item. Wonkyu takes the sword and asks Sudai where he found it. She feels like she has seen this sword before. Observing Wonkyu's reaction, Sudai wonders if this is a sign. Maybe her memories are coming back. Sudai finds the situation interesting. If Wonkyu really recovers his memory, it will be in his hands. He reflects that it would be like a lamb going to the slaughter. Questioning herself, Sudai ponders what her opinion will be about this sword. Sudai then decides to leave the item in Wankyu's custody. Surprised, the girl asks if he is serious. The girl refuses, asking Lord Sudai why she would need the sword. She even asks if he expects her to deal with the monsters. Masterly questions the reason for the refusal. Sudai responds that Wankyu cannot expect eternal protection from him. A gleam of understanding appears in Wankyu's eyes. The young woman gives in and accepts the sword. She comments that she has never used it and asks Sudai to teach her later. His hand then firmly grasps the hilt of the sword. Upon touching the weapon, Wankyu shows surprise and confusion. Suddenly, a vivid memory floods Wankyu's mind. In the vision, she desperately screams, "Master, stop." A male voice echoes, promising to find a way to track and capture shadows in Tuzao. He assures her that from now on, he will be the sword in her hand and will never disappoint her. The vision of the past continues, with the master asking if she still calls him greatest. Back in the present, a visibly shocked Wankyu stutters, master, as Sudai watches. Suddenly the girl is frightened when she sees the shadow of her master appearing behind her. With her eyes rolling back, the girl then faints and begins to fall to the ground. On the floor, everyone sees the unconscious girl, while a woman screams her name in despair. Furious, our protagonist summons his serpent spirit by shouting the girl's name. Your spirit creature gets angry and prepares to pounce on someone. It turns out that the animal starts to wrap itself around the body of the girl, who is lying down. Everyone there is shocked by the scene as a dark energy surrounds them. The woman with glasses then grabs his arm and asks the boy to stop it. However, the snake continues to squeeze the body of the young woman, who struggles in pain. With her face red, she screams in agony because of the pressure on her body. Desperate, the girl begs the protagonist to help her because her monster has gone mad. Ignoring the requests, he points his spear very close to the blonde's neck. Crouching down, the guy asks if she has managed to recover her memories. Still being crushed, the girl asks, confused, what he is talking about now. The woman with glasses then kneels down, begging him to save the girl because she is good. Our hero thinks that her reaction doesn't seem fake, and maybe it was just a slip of the tongue. So he decides he'll check it out himself and puts his hand on her forehead. A red light shines as the boy begins to investigate the young girl's memories. Opening his eyes, the protagonist seems to have come to an important conclusion. He realizes that memories don't lie, and that she really doesn't remember anything. Holding the young woman, the woman with glasses calls him, confused by the whole situation. With his spear in hand, the protagonist decides it is best to leave this aside for now. Then the spirit serpent disappears, leaving the girl relieved and feeling better. He says that the spear is of no use to her and that it is better not to waste any more time there. The girl wonders why she called the guy master and feels a familiar dread. The hero wonders whether this is fate or a trap and vows to find out the truth. Get them out of school, and the rest is not his problem. The teacher looks back, worried about the students, but decides to follow the young man. She then tells them to stay there, and that she will take them to a safe shelter later. The students nod as the woman runs to catch up with the other two. From afar, the trio watches the group move away towards the city center. As soon as they disappear from sight, the young people relax, and one of them curses the protagonist. Meanwhile, our hero and the two girls continue walking through the deserted streets. Suddenly, the blonde girl stops walking and asks them to wait a bit. She looks up with a sense of foreboding and warns that something is coming towards them. Unexpectedly, soldiers appear, shouting for them to run away and not come closer. The teacher is happy because she thinks they are the rescue team that came to help. Our hero, however, decides that it is best to leave at least one of them alive to talk. Then his giant snake appears in the middle of the street and starts fighting. The soldiers are terrified when they realize that more creatures are coming from behind. The captain then shouts for everyone to spread out and not let the animals surround them. A chaotic battle ensues as the military fires at the advancing creatures. Suddenly, a giant shadowy hand appears and prepares to crush a horde. With a single blow, the hand crushes several monsters at once, clearing the area. Meanwhile, the snake takes the chance and bites into a bunch of creatures. She devours all enemies in her path without any apparent difficulty. Hidden, the soldiers are shocked because it seems that the monsters are fighting among themselves. In the background, the creatures continue to face each other in a violent and chaotic battle. The leader tells them to retreat while the animals are distracted and wait for reinforcements. A recruit asks if people with powers are as strong as rumors say. The captain replies that they didn't see how terrible these S-rank people are. He remembers that a single person like that is capable of facing an army of thousands. Shocked soldier wonders if these individuals are truly superhumans. Spying on a soldier, he sees the group walking and wonders why the monsters ignore them. He realizes that the creatures actually seem to be protecting the trio from danger. From afar, a sniper carefully aims at our protagonist's head. A hidden soldier shouts for the group to identify themselves, or they will start shooting. The military points their weapons at the trio, who are surrounded by defeated monsters. One of the soldiers asks his captain if they should really shoot at the group. With his finger on the trigger, the man prepares to follow any order he receives. The captain, however, stops him and says that this person is beyond their reach. He introduces himself as the team leader and asks if the hero has been sent to help them. The protagonist stops walking and looks at the soldiers with a look of contempt. He then asks what an Esper is, leaving the captain completely confused. The military thinks that if they are not registered Espers, then they must be dangerous. The teacher comes forward and explains that they are there looking for their father. The captain recognizes the name and says it is on the list with important information. The boy asks if he knows the location, and the soldier confirms, but it is a difficult place. Suddenly, a new horde of creatures appears running towards them. He screams in despair as they are now completely surrounded by the monsters. The troop leader begs the hero to help them at least send a message. The protagonist agrees to help them, but in exchange they must take him to his target. Then he gives the order to his spirit creatures to crush all enemies. The monster charges forward and begins to tear enemies to pieces with its claws. Meanwhile, the serpent spits a blast of fire that incinerates everything in its path. The soldiers watch in shock at the power of an Esper and feel useless. The captain explains that not all Espers are that strong and that this guy is top-notch. He also says that he has never seen anyone control monsters like this and his level must be high. Suddenly, the blonde girl warns everyone to be careful because something is approaching. The serpent and the soldiers look up, realizing that the threat comes from the sky. Then a giant armored foot descends from the heavens, declaring that no one may invade. The impact of the landing is so strong that the ground breaks into several pieces. A giant skeleton knight appears, and the soldiers are terrified because they didn't know about him. Our hero recognizes the creature's aura and is surprised by its great power. The knight presents himself as the guardian of the place and threatens anyone who dares to invade his territory. The teacher asks what they will do now, while the military prepares for the fight. The boy smiles as he realizes that the creature is a rare and intelligent undead. He orders everyone to retreat and warns that the creature is now his prey. He thinks that by capturing her, he will have the chance to create his own army of undead. With an army like that, his battle power would increase greatly, so he orders the attack. His two spirit creatures quickly advance to attack the giant knight. The skeleton realizes that the human controls the undead and considers him very dangerous. Without difficulty, the knight blocks the creature's attack with a shockwave. He declares himself the master of the undead and challenges the protagonist's authority. A powerful green aura begins to emanate from the skeletal knight's body. The hero realizes that the enemy's power is immense and wonders where it came from. On top of a building, a mysterious man watches the battle unfold. With a smile on his face, he thinks his master will be happy with the new prey. A dark entity appears, and he reports having encountered a cultivator who controls the dead. The entity orders him to capture it, and in return he will be rewarded by his master. Meanwhile, the two girls scream in despair in fear of the skeleton knight. The blonde clings to the hero, saying that she will die by his side if necessary. Our hero says that even without his powers, he is not an opponent to be underestimated. He then summons a sword made of pure blue energy and prepares for combat. Suddenly, a giant energy avatar appears behind him and assumes an attacking stance. The knight tries to defend himself from the blow of the giant sword, but is pushed back. The skeleton is shocked by the overwhelming power he is suddenly facing. He can't believe it and recognizes the technique as a high-level secret move. The soldiers are also terrified because he is stronger than any Esper they have ever seen. The boy thinks it was worth spending his energy to get a new servant. Seeing the secret technique, the knight realizes that he cannot win and decides to flee. Our hero asks if he really thinks he can escape and summons another sword. He then launches a powerful attack that takes the form of a fiery phoenix. The fire creature advances at high speed towards the enemy who was trying to escape. The skeleton knight turns around and is completely terrified by what he sees. He recognizes the divine weapon and regrets having faced someone so powerful. The knight is hit squarely by our hero's powerful fire phoenix. The blonde asks if he summoned a phoenix, and the teacher is impressed by his power. With the staff in hand, the protagonist prepares to finish off his opponent. Chains of energy bind the knight, who shouts that he will not be enslaved. He realizes that following the boy is better and accepts his fate, even though he is reluctant. The knight's soul is then absorbed by the protagonist's staff, becoming his servant. The hero coughs a little because he used a lot of energy and his level ended up dropping a little. The spirit in the staff offers to help its master regain some strength. By absorbing the energy, the guy can level up and feel much stronger. He smiles, realizing that the souls in his staff can give him extra power. The boy thanks him for his help, and the new servant swears loyalty, asking for his trust. The knight thinks that his master was once very powerful and that he can return to his peak. He understands that if he serves his new master well, he can also become stronger. The blonde girl approaches, worried because she saw him coughing up blood a while ago. He reflects that the past doesn't matter, and his focus is on understanding the world and becoming stronger. The hero asks the captain to take them to their target, and the soldier promptly complies. Along the way, they encounter more zombies that seem to have no end blocking the way. The protagonist gets irritated with so many weak enemies, and the spirit complains too. To solve the problem, the skeleton knight is summoned in his complete form. He yells at the zombies, calling them fools and ordering them to kneel before their master. Immediately, the entire horde of creatures kneels before their new master. The group then walks calmly down the street, with the zombies clearing the way. The soldiers are shocked as they did not expect the zombies to bow down. The bespectacled teacher reflects on the boy's power and whether he will be a new hero. Elsewhere, we see a building with very traditional and old architecture. A man is shocked to receive news that his skeleton lord has been defeated. The servant assures him that it is true and shows some footage of the battle to his master. The man in purple robes recognizes the techniques and the sword used in the confrontation. He realizes that his master has also come to this world and is more advanced than him. The dark entity orders his servant to kill the hero when he enters the base. The group finally reaches the building, but it is surrounded by many zombies. Inside, some people see the group arriving and are excited about the chance of rescue. Suddenly, the blonde girl points to the sky and shouts for the hero to be careful. A strange weapon that looks like a spinning top comes flying at high speed. The skeleton knight then appears and tells his master not to worry about it. With his shield, he manages to block the attack of the mysterious spinning top that hits him. Suddenly, a mysterious man appears and attacks the knight from behind with a blow. The man is shocked to see the skeleton lord and asks how he survived. The knight tells him to shut up and says that he is now his new master. The man in the hat just scoffs and asks if he thinks he can give him orders. The man in the hat orders his skeletons to attack, promising a great reward. Our hero analyzes the enemy and realizes that he has a power similar to that of the knight. He then turns to the blonde girl and tells her to pay close attention to what's coming. The boy again uses his fire phoenix technique to attack the enemy in front of him. The girl feels that the name of the scam is familiar, but cannot remember where she knows it from. The villain is paralyzed with fear when he realizes that he is in front of a divine weapon. Without trying, the hero says that now the rest is up to his new skeleton servant. With shining eyes, the knight is grateful for the chance to finish off that worm. The skeleton approaches the enemy, who now begs for his life in great fear. Without mercy, the knight attacks the man with his giant sword to end everything. A system window appears congratulating you on defeating a commander monster. He is a bit frustrated because he gained experience but didn't level up with the victory. The boy tells his servant that he can have the blood zombie's body. The skeleton kneels and thanks his master, swearing eternal loyalty to him. With a blast of energy, he absorbs the enemy and thinks about how lucky he was to surrender. After absorbing the enemy, his power increases and he says he can now fight 10 equals. Inside the building, people celebrate with relief at having been saved by the hero. The survivors panic because they know that not even the hero can win. The girl remembers that a team of espers was annihilated by him in seconds. The teacher's father asks everyone to calm down and trust. The two girls fall to the ground feeling a very strong headache because of the scream. The knight explains that each bird has a different power and that they are very strong. The hero feels that his power is being suppressed and that the situation is complicated. He tells his servant that he promised to fight 10, so now is the time. The knight advances and manages to hold one of the monsters with his bare hands. Another bird attacks him from behind, but he manages to defend himself with his shield. A third monster then fires a beam of energy towards our hero. He prepares to attack using the second form of his Phoenix Sword. With a quick movement, he creates an energy cut that goes towards the enemy. The blow creates a powerful whirlwind that sucks the monster inside and defeats it. Taking advantage of the distraction, one of the monsters manages to land a blow on the boy. The sonic wave affected his power, and he can no longer use his avatar so as not to hurt his soul. Our MC figures that if he's taken down Demon Kings before, these birds are just a matter of time. He thinks if he can just disrupt the sound effect and use his wind sword, he'll have a shot at turning the tables. Then, a mysterious woman appears, and with a single command, she sends her own monsters into the fight. The new creatures charge forward and attack the bird skeletons, creating total chaos on the battlefield. But our hero is still getting rocked by the sound, feeling his body being crushed by the intense sonic wave. The winged creature taunts him, asking if he really thinks he can stop the sound with his weakened power. Just then, his skeleton servant glares at the bird and asks if that's the best the enemy's trump card can do. The monster snaps back that the knight is just putting on a brave face and slugs him with a powerful punch to the chest. Meanwhile, the sonic scream takes out the girls and the soldier, who are all down on the ground in agony. Watching from a distance, the guy in purple laughs, thinking the kid has no chance and is in for a long, slow defeat. The teacher's dad yells from the window, begging the young man to get out of there and take his daughter with him. But our hero looks determined, wondering if he'll have to use that secret technique to win this fight. Suddenly, a simple wooden stick is thrown at high speed toward one of the birds. The twig smacks the red creature right in the head, making its deafening scream finally stop. Right after, a blonde woman appears on the scene, yelling at the monsters for making such a racket. The blonde woman attacks one of the creatures with a piece of wood, destroying part of its body. With the sound gone, the blonde girl gets up, and the teacher asks if it was our hero who saved them. Everyone stares at the new ally, who strikes an imposing pose over the defeated monster. The young man thanks her for the help, and the woman says she wants to play with his staff later. Seizing the opportunity, the skeleton knight taunts the bird monster for not being able to scream anymore. He then strikes with his giant sword to finish off the bird that was bugging him. With the sonic wave gone, the protagonist's sword begins to glow intensely with his energy again. He comments that without their special trick, these bony creatures are no big deal. The villain, watching from afar, recognizes the woman and wonders why the heck she's there helping the enemy. The two remaining creatures decide to follow their master's orders and attack the warehouse. Inside the building, the survivors celebrate with relief, thinking they're finally sour. The blonde woman senses the unstable energy and fears the teacher might get hurt by this new power. Our hero also notices the new energy and is surprised she awakened this kind of ability. He catches the fainted woman and says that as an immortal emperor, this is a piece of cake for him. Using his staff, he releases ribbons of energy that wrap around them to begin a stabilization ritual. The young man touches her to guide the energy, thinking that with the right guidance, everything will be more efficient. The blonde warrior watches the scene, finding it all very familiar, but unable to remember while he and his servant handle the birds. The skeleton knight enthusiastically accepts his master's order and prepares for battle. He charges at the enemy, shouting that he can finally show off his true combat power. Next, our hero uses his magic staff and summons energy chains to capture the monster. With an intense glow, the skeletal creature's soul is absorbed by the staff, becoming a new servant. The villain is annoyed by the monster's defeat, but consoles himself, thinking the mission wasn't a total failure. Then a system window pops up, congratulating the young man and showing that his staff has leveled up. The now tiny bird complains about being captured, and the knight tells him he should feel lucky. The protagonist asks the new creature if there's a way to cure the people from the poison. After a little threat from the skeleton knight, the bird explains that it can suck the poison back out. Meanwhile, the teacher runs barefoot up the stairs to find her father quickly. She reaches the room and sees everyone collapsed on the floor from the toxic smoke that filled the area. Using her newly awakened power, she orders the poison to leave her father's body immediately. The woman with the glasses watches her father closely, but her power doesn't seem to have an immediate effect. Suddenly, she realizes the poison that left her father is now coming straight for her. The power comes at a high price, and the teacher ends up coughing up blood from the immense strain. Our hero explains that this ability is powerful but demands a lot from the user's strength and spirit. He warns her that she got lucky this time and that next time, she might not survive using her power. The protagonist calls the bird over and warns that if the man doesn't survive, it will be destroyed too. Terrified, the creature agrees instantly and flies quickly toward the man to suck out the poison. The skeleton bird begins to draw out the toxic smoke that was coming from the teacher's father's body. With that, it sucks up all the poison that had spread and manages to save the older man's life. The creature explains that it saved him, but since the poison was in his system for so long, there's no telling when he'll wake up. The teacher worries because her father isn't waking up, and she needs information about the spirit stone. Just then, the blonde warrior approaches the young man and says she can feel a source of energy coming from the man. She then gets confused, wondering why she keeps calling the hero Master, and what their connection is. The protagonist opens the man's hand and finds a green stone that's glowing with intense energy. He's surprised to discover that it's a high-quality spirit stone in a world with no energy. The young man hands the stone to the blonde and asks her to hold it and see if she can feel anything. The warrior holds the object, and a green energy surrounds her as she concentrates to feel its power. Suddenly, her eyes go wide as she seems to have located the source of that mysterious energy. The girl points and says the stone came from that direction, about 20 or 30 kilometers away. Our hero decides to head to the location, but the teacher says she's staying behind to look after her father. As he's about to leave, the blonde warrior stops him, asking him to wait a moment. With a seductive look, she asks if he remembers his promise to lend her his staff. Without hesitating, the young man simply holds out his weapon and hands it to the woman. She then grips the staff firmly, preparing to use her special ability. The girl thinks she can suck the spirits from the weapon and is surprised he didn't even try to protect it. With a confident smile, she decides she'll absorb the energy first and think later. She tries to drain the power, but the skull on the staff cries out as an energy envelopes her. Suddenly, the warrior's eyes widen in complete shock as something goes wrong. Powerful force throws her to her knees, and she's unable to resist it. The woman wonders why her ability failed and why she got hit with a counterattack. Our hero then grabs his sword and offers it to the girl to play with as well. She looks at the staff, sweating, and admits that his weapon is incredibly powerful and strange. The blonde remembers he used the sword to win and wonders why he's so confident. She can't believe both weapons are so powerful and decides to try her luck with the sword. The moment she grabs the other weapon, intense flames erupt and completely engulf her. A fire phoenix manifests behind the sword, terrifying the warrior with its overwhelming power. She can't handle the energy and ends up spitting blood as she falls to her knees, completely defeated. The girl wonders what kind of weapons these are and who the protagonist really is. Our hero smirks, thinking that her ability to absorb spirits from weapons is pretty common back in his world. But he reveals that his staff and sword are divine weapons, far beyond what she can handle. The blonde gets up and admits with a sigh that the guy's weapons are truly impressive. So, he invites her to join the group, promising her all the weapons they find along the way. The warrior enthusiastically accepts the offer, and the group finally sets off on their next mission. The bird servant complains to the knight, who scolds him for stealing the woman's energy. The skeleton explains that he absorbed the energy to help their master get stronger and break through his limit. With the new energy, the young man levels up to the advanced stage and feels ready for any battle. The captain says goodbye to the group and promises he will protect the teacher and the other survivors. Elsewhere, we see a lavish mansion where a bunch of rich people are trapped with no way out. A horde of zombies crashes the party and violently attacks all the guests, who run in a panic. A wealthy man hugs his daughter in desperation, begging for someone to save his family. Suddenly, a mysterious shadow appears in the middle of all the chaos unfolding at the location. With a single swing of his sword, a man in blue defeats all the zombies at once. The survivors cheer with relief, and the wealthy man calls the newcomer the God of War. The savior greets the pink-haired girl, and her father asks if they know each other. The man in blue says she is his dear junior sister and affectionately pats her on the head. The girl then has a flashback and remembers her past life with him and the protagonist. Her eyes wide, the girl in the red dress cries out for the figure of her former master. She looks at the man in blue and says she thinks she's starting to remember everything. With a burst of energy and golden coins, the girl finally recovers all her memories. Her companion congratulates her and says they now need to take care of more important matters. The man in blue then flicks out several energy coins with a single motion of his hand. He creates a barrier, and the girl says goodbye to her father, telling him the zombies won't get through. The girl, now in high heels, steps on some rocks in a completely different place. She complains about the air, but her partner says they need to defeat their master to save the world. The girl says that even though she loves her master, she must fight against him for the good of everyone. The man in blue says they need to get the spirit stone from the cave and then finally defeat their master. Meanwhile, the villain in purple reflects that the mission didn't fail, because for him, that word doesn't exist. He thinks that if he defeats the protagonist, his master will reward him, and he can return to his own world. Elsewhere, the heroes group walks down a street full of zombies and people begging for help. The blonde asks if they aren't going to help, but the guy says it's pointless and that the focus is on getting stronger. The group then continues their journey through the devastated land to reach the source of the spirit stone. Suddenly, the blonde warrior senses a large amount of energy approaching them rapidly. On the horizon, a troop of skeletons led by the villain in purple advances toward the group. The man in sunglasses rides his skeletal horse with a serious and determined expression. He greets our hero, accusing him of defeating 3 of his generals and trying to run away. The protagonist just stares back at the enemy with a serious look, seeming unbothered by the accusation. The winged creature trembles in fear seeing its old master, but the knight says they've got a new boss now. So RMC asks his winged servant if he's scared of that guy, and the creature denies it, just waiting for the command. With that, our guy orders his lackeys to attack and test the opponent's strength, and the 2 of them charge the villain in purple. Watching the attack approach, the man in purple smirks, clearly thinking they're a couple of chumps. With a dark glare, the villain asks how they dare attack him after everything he taught them. Just then, the blonde warrior senses the enemy's mental power and yells for everyone to cover their ears. The woman in black charges forward with her wooden staff, shouting that she's going to take this guy down. But the opponent just smiles, his eyes glowing, and asks why such a pretty lady has to be so rude. Immediately, the warrior's eyes go wide with shock as she's caught by the enemy's ability. The villain's skill forces her to her knees, and she looks completely overwhelmed by his power. Trapped in the illusion, the woman starts crying and calling out for her mother in total despair. RMC then turns to his staff and asks if that guy can really create illusions. The servant explains that the villain's entire body is pure mental control, including his voice and even his eyes. Our guy just smirks, commenting that mind control is neat and all, but protecting yourself from it is no biggie. He then forms a seal with his hands, and a blue energy glows around him as he preps his technique. With that, our guy focuses and completely blocks his own hearing so he won't be affected by the villain. He also shuts down his perception and all his other senses to nullify the enemy's mental ability. The purple-clad adversary then questions how he plans to fight if he can't sense anything around him. But our hero simply ignores him and launches a powerful fire attack right at the enemy. The phoenix flames hit the man in glasses and his skeletal mount dead on. Our protagonist is a little surprised when he realizes the hit didn't have the effect he was hoping for. With a laugh, the villain pops up right behind him, saying he already knows all his tricks and that they won't work on him. Then the opponent extends his hand and orders his army of skeletons to form a barrier around everyone. Suddenly, a bunch of skeletons burst from the ground, surrounding our guy's group and trapping them all. With that, the 2 girls collapse to the ground again, clutching their heads from a massive headache caused by the attack. The blonde then hugs the other warrior, who's still trapped in the illusion, desperately calling for her mom. At that moment, the skeleton lackey warns his master that they've walked right into the enemy's domain and can't escape anymore. Our hero is shocked, realizing he's fallen into a trap and that things just got way more complex. Master is the hero and wonders why he would have to take out his own teacher. The image of the master in the illusion has a very serious and imposing look that intimidates the enemy. With that, the hero's illusion asks if he's seen enough, calling him someone else's henchman. The adversary is stunned to realize that this illusion seems to have a mind of its own. Then the figure of the master summons a large flaming sword and gets ready for battle. With a swift move, the illusion unleashes a slash of fiery energy toward the man in glasses. Back in reality, our hero says he wasn't aiming at him, but at the illusion he had created. With the tip of the sword at his face, the enemy looks completely defeated and frozen in place. Our guy asks if all of this was for a traitor, and the villain laments being tricked by his own apprentice. With the illusion shattered, the protagonist and his 2 skeletons get ready for a fight. But the villain, collapsed on the ground, just laughs, saying our guy still won't be able to catch him. The adversary then touches the ground and creates several earth spikes to try and escape the group. He pulls out a fan and says his power isn't just about creating illusions for other people. Laughing like a maniac, he flies away on his fan, saying that the idea of taking out his master's master really gets him excited. Our guy smirks and asks his servants if they've figured out the dude's weak spot, and they both confirm. With a confident smile, the protagonist says that now he truly understands his opponent's soul. He then orders his 2 skeletal lackeys to attack, and they charge the enemy. The villain scoffs at them, saying they'd need to train for another 100 years to even think about fighting him for real. With his sword, the skeleton knight blocks the attacks, getting annoyed at being underestimated. Against the skeletons attack with a confident expression. He yells for the skeletons to get out of his way as he uses the fan to create a powerful gust of wind. Annoyed, the adversary admits defeat and decides it's time to retreat and get out of there. But the blonde warrior suddenly appears and asks if he really thinks he can just get away like that. With her wooden staff, she smacks the enemy's hand hard, making him drop the fan on the ground. The woman then snatches his fan while the villain screams in pain on the ground, completely beaten. Holding the weapon, a blue energy starts to flow into her body as she absorbs all its power. The warrior yells as she feels the energy, and she seems to be really enjoying the new power she just got. Then the woman throws the fan on the ground and stomps on it with her heel, shattering the enemy's weapon. The man in purple is desperate, wondering why his special weapon isn't working anymore. Without a shred of mercy, the blonde lands a powerful kick to the villain's face to end the fight. Afterward, she turns to the protagonist and thanks him for the fan, saying she found it to be a pretty good weapon. Just then, the skeleton knight lands hard on the ground, ready to finish off the enemy. Along with his winch partner, he charges the man in purple, screaming that it's time for him to meet his end. The skeleton servant gets closer and says he's going to eat the guy's soul to get stronger. But the winged creature complains, saying the knight already ate last time and now it's his turn. The winged creature threatens the knight, but the bigger skeleton challenges him to a fight right then and there. At that point, our protagonist shows up and tells them to split the enemy's soul 50-50. With that, the 2 servants bow and accept their master's order without complaining about the decision. They think about how their new boss is way smarter than their old one, and that it's better just be straight with him. The 2 of them then begin to absorb the defeated enemy's soul, feeling the energy flow through them. The bird says it tastes great and that he almost leveled up, and the knight agrees about the flavor. They both kneel and offer the energy to their master, who thanks them for their help. A system window shows that his staff is at level 5, and he can now control 2 bosses. Our guy notices his realm has improved, and that he just needs to find a spirit cave to level up. He creates an energy sphere, and thinks that now he can explore his own mind again with more power. The protagonist concentrates, and is surprised to feel something new in his mind, thinking it's incredible. Elsewhere, the ex-disciples arrive at a cave and feel a strong energy coming from inside. The man in blue notes that the villain was taken down, and that their old master is still as powerful as ever. They enter and find a large cave filled with green crystals shining everywhere. He says that everyone takes the stones from the walls, but they don't know about the place's true core. Deeper inside, they find a waterfall of crystals, and the man says it's a font of spiritual power. The lady in red says the energy is super strong, and he says he knows of 3 more caves just like this one. But just then, the woman hears a noise and realizes more people are approaching. She warns her partner about trick whoever is arriving at the cave. In the illusion, the woman in red accuses her partner of stealing her stones, and the 2 of them fake a fight. Meanwhile, our hero's group finally reaches the entrance of the cave, which is glowing with green energy. The girl in shorts points inside and says the energy is really strong and that they're close. Our protagonist observes the cave entrance with a serious look, getting ready for whatever comes next. He then decides to enter the cave, leading the group into the mysterious, glowing place. Inside, they see that the stones have been stolen, but the girl says the energy is still strong. Our guy deduces there must be a source of power, and asks the girl to lead him toward the energy. The blonde warrior wonders what this source is, but figures it's probably going to be something fun. The skeletons are celebrating like crazy, because with this power source, they'll be able to level up easily. Then our hero smashes through a rock wall with a single punch to clear a path to the energy source. After opening the hole, the group sees 2 men fighting over a divine weapon inside the cave. The blonde warrior recognizes the fighters as Iron Arm and Bronze Leg, and our hero is pretty surprised. She explains that those 2 were the first to become espers and that not even rockets can hurt their bodies. Our guy thinks the rescue team's weapons could probably handle them, but that the 2 are definitely tough. They look at the twig that's the cause of the fight, and our hero realizes the 2 are trapped in an illusion. The girl in shorts points deeper in the cave and says the strong energy is coming from over there. But she comments that she smells something familiar, and the protagonist asks her about that feeling. Then our guy smiles because his gut feeling was right. His ex-disciples really are in the cave. The two fighters sense the group's presence and decide it's better to just get rid of them quickly. With that, the two men charge full throttle to attack the protagonist's group without a second thought. The blonde warrior says that after absorbing the fan, she's bursting with energy and wants to fight a little. Next thing you know, the woman in black leaps at high speed toward the two opponents. She attacks both of them at the same time with her staff, and the men defend against her strikes. One of the fighters manages to grab the woman's staff with his metal gauntlet, holding it tight. He then recognizes the blonde as but not strong enough to beat him. He then attacks with a powerful punch, but the blonde manages to defend herself with her wooden staff. However, the other hooded opponent takes advantage of the distraction and lands a hard kick on her. The warrior retaliates with a spinning kick and manages to send the hooded man flying with the blow. But she falls to the ground in a lot of pain, realizing her leg was badly injured in the attack. Before she can collapse completely, the protagonist appears and catches her in his arms so she doesn't get hurt. He says he'll heal her and orders his two skeletal lackeys to take care of the fighters. With that, the servants and a few more skeletal birds charge the two adversaries with everything they've got. The skeleton knight uses his giant sword to block attacks from both men at the same time. Meanwhile, our hero uses his staff, and red energy ribbons wrap around him and the injured warrior. He says he's going to repair her injuries, but warns her that it might hurt and asks her to hang in there. Our guy then forms a hand seal, and a green healing energy begins to glow intensely. He touches the woman's body, and the green energy flows into her to begin the healing process. The warrior reacts, feeling the healing energy flow through her body and mend the entire wound. She feels the pure, warm energy and wonders who this incredibly powerful man healing her is. The other girl gets a little bit jealous, seeing the MC with another woman, and again, she watches the healing scene and wonders when it's going to be her turn to get that kind of attention. Meanwhile, in the battle, one of the men complains about the bird's noise and tells his partner to deal with them. With that, the hooded fighter stomps down hard on the ground to crush one of the skeletons, and with a single blow, he manages to completely destroy one of the birds that was attacking him. His partner then smirks and says the place is a lot quieter now without all that noise. He then lands a powerful punch on the skeleton knight, who's surprised by the force of the hit. But the winged creature attacks back, and the hooded man can't believe he can't seem to beat it. The hooded fighter then stomps hard on the skeletal bird, crushing it completely on the ground. Our hero's servant is shocked and wonders when such powerful espers appeared in the world. The other guy just keeps wailing on the knight, who complains that his old bones are aching from the beatdown. The skeletal birds surround the hooded man, who dodges them, saying they can't catch him. Deeper inside, the two ex-disciples are relaxing in a spring and commenting on the noise from the fight. The man confirms that it's their master, and the woman says they need to evolve quickly for the coming showdown. Our hero continues the healing process on the blonde warrior with his energy and magical ribbons. Meanwhile, in the battle, the skeletal minions are getting their butts kicked by the two super strong fighters. With that, the knight admits he's powerless, and his winged partner suggests they should bail. The two opponents then turn to the group, and one of them says it's better to finish them all off quickly. But the warrior, now healed, warns the young man to run because their power has become too unpredictable. The hooded enemy, however, scoffs at the sword and tries to attack her directly with a powerful kick. However, upon hitting the blade, his leg is seriously wounded by the weapon's incredible power. His eyes go wide in shock, as he doesn't understand how his bronze leg was pierced. Fallen on the ground, the fighter screams in pain while holding his leg, which is now completely wrecked. The minions are in awe, and the knight says that the master's sword is divine and can wound anyone. The hooded man then gets up and, while admitting defeat, says that no one will stop him from escaping. With a smirk, our MC holds up a rope and asks if he really thinks he can get away. Quickly, the young man throws the rope, which wraps precisely around the fleeing opponent. With that, the fighter trips and plants on the ground, unable to get free from the trap. Completely tied up, the hooded man struggles, but soon realizes there's no way out of this. His partner is shocked, and the blonde is amazed that the man's leg didn't break the rope. Our hero then shows that the rope is connected to his arm, and that he's in complete control of it. The young man says it's a special rope, and that the enemy should feel honored to be caught by it. At that moment, the other girl has a vision of a goddess and realizes that it's immortal rope. The tied-up enemy shouts for him to let go and challenges the MC to a real fight. But the young man ignores him and orders the skeletal minions to devour the man's soul. The two servants advance, and the knight says that following this master was the best decision of his life. The winged creature laughs while absorbing the soul, saying that the taste is great and that he's eating well now. The warrior watches and wonders what kind of power the MC has awakened to be so strong. With that, the other fighter is terrified and realizes that the rope and the sword are way too powerful. Then the man with iron arms walks slowly toward our hero, filled with fear. He kneels and offers the branch he was fighting for, saying it was a mistake not to recognize his power. The MC simply walks past him, and the fighter is left confused, looking at the branch in his hand. He shouts, asking where his staff is, and the young man explains that it was just an illusion. Furious, the opponent smashes the branch on the ground and asks who put them under an illusion. Our hero points to the back of the cave and tells the fighters that the ones responsible for the illusion are over there. Inside the hot spring, the former disciples feel the tremor, and the young man comments that the master has already handled everything. The man in blue smiles, saying he's gotten stronger from the spring's energy and can now beat the fighters. With a powerful punch, the iron-armed man shatters the stone wall, opening a hole. The MC then points out the former disciples and tells the fighter to go defeat the ones who tricked him. The iron-armed man shouts that he doesn't hit women and charges forward to attack the guy in blue first. He tries to land a punch, but his opponent creates several illusions of himself and easily dodges the blow. But the pink-haired girl throws energy coins that stop the fighter's attack in mid-air. The woman in red uses her ability, and the golden coins glow brightly in her hands. With that, the coins hit the iron-armed man with full force in a sequence of attacks. The fighter's body smokes, and his clothes are torn after taking all the damage. He then falls to the ground, completely defeated and with no strength to continue the battle. The two girls in the group are shocked, and the one in shorts finds the coin ability familiar. The former disciples greet their master, and the young man comments, "We meet again? Fighting already." The hero asks the girl in shorts why she isn't attacking him, and she gets confused by his words. With that, the girl in shorts feels a terrible headache and screams that she can't take it anymore. The blonde warrior tries to understand their relationship and if the MC really is their master. At this, the skeletal minions realize that the young man is the master of their former boss and are surprised. With a serious look, the MC accuses the guy in blue of having plotted his demise in the past. The former disciple scoffs and asks if there's any point in questioning it, suggesting they fight it out instead. The woman in red then warns her former colleague to side with them, or she will attack. But the woman in red is completely shocked by what happens next in front of her. The girl in shorts positions herself in front of her master to protect him from her former companion. The woman in red yells, questioning if her ex-colleague knows what he did, but the other snaps back angrily. The short-haired girl declares that she trusts the young man and that if they want to get to him, they'll have to defeat her first. Furious, the woman in red shouts that she's asking for a beatdown and attacks with her coins. But the blonde warrior zips in front at high speed to intercept her opponent's blow. Using her weapon, the blonde manages to parry all the energy coins with ease. The blonde then taunts her opponent, saying she loves some good gossip and a nice brawl like this. The ex-disciple gets furious and readies her coins, saying she's going to shut her up right now. The ex-disciple unleashes her energy coins with full force to attack the blonde warrior. But the blonde defends with her wooden staff, saying that her weapon is a treasure. However, she realizes her weapon won't hold up under the pressure for much longer. Meanwhile, our hero looks at the defeated fighter on the ground and decides to act. He uses his staff, and a green energy envelopes the iron-armed man to bring him to his side. The fighter then stands up and gets between the two skeletal minions, a bit confused. With that, the young man asks if he wants to be his servant and promises him an immortal body in return. The skeletons celebrate their new ally, and the iron-armed man wonders if he's alive again. He then smiles excitedly, saying that as long as he's alive, there will always be new opportunities. The MC thinks that in his past life, he only used punishment, but now he'll use rewards to lead. He tells his servants that they are his friends, and that they will be rewarded for their battles. The minions bow and swear loyalty, and the new servant realizes that his master is trustworthy. Then, the young man orders his 3 servants to attack the former disciples to help the girls. The skeleton knight charges toward the woman in red, who is already fighting the blonde. With a powerful blow, he manages to knock the former disciple to the ground with a single attack. On the ground, the woman in red recognizes the master's weapon and says she's going to destroy his soul. With that, she gets up, surrounded by a yellow aura, and asks if he remembers her technique. The ex-disciple then summons a giant gold coin in the sky, right above the skeleton knight. She screams with a maniacal look, activating her special skill, Treasure Fall, with full force. The giant coin crushes the skeletal minion, who complains that it's heavier than a mountain. Meanwhile, the iron-armed man charges the guy in blue to get revenge for the illusion. The ex-disciple just stares him down, and the hero's new servant suddenly stops his attack mid-air. He loses control of his own body and ends up punching himself, falling to the ground with no idea what happened. The guy in blue taunts his master, saying he's really fallen low using trash like this to fight. The opponent then summons a sword that glows intensely with a powerful blue energy. He says it was the master who taught him how to fight with swords and challenges him to a duel of blades. With a leap, the traitor unleashes a giant sword slash that tears up the cavern floor. The short-haired girl is stunned by the attack and the immense energy contained within it. Our hero then wields his flaming sword and says that his technique is the strongest of all. Multiple arms-wielding swords appear around him, creating a wall of blades. With that, he calls this formation the sharpest wall in existence, and the defense seems impenetrable. The traitor's attack then hits the wall of swords, and a huge explosion erupts on the spot. The short-haired girl gets worried, thinking that her master's level is lower than the enemy's. At that, she feels another sharp headache, and more jumbled memories suddenly flood her mind. The traitor realizes she's recovering her memory and boasts about his progress to his former master. The ex-disciple then manages to break some of the swords in the wall with his incredible power. With a smug grin, he advances with his blade, ready to shatter the hero's defense. His sword then collides with the MC's main blade at the center of the defensive wall. But upon impact, the traitor's sword begins to crack and break into several pieces right then and there. Our hero then calmly says that his sword is sharp, but it has no backbone. The ex-disciple is in complete shock and can't believe what just happened. With that, the force of the impact throws him backward, and his sword shatters completely in the air. The girls stare at our protagonist, stunned, and one of them says his strength is insane since he managed to block the sword. The pink-haired ex-apprentice comments that her former master is always full of surprises, but she quickly changes her tune, thinking that no matter how strong her master is, he's evil and deserves a tragic end. Back in the present, the giant skeleton is kneeling, saying that he will always be his master, no matter what happens. In another flashback, we see one of the traitors with a wicked grin, saying that the master taught him something very important. He then finishes his sentence, saying that in war, anything goes. However, our young hero remains calm as several metal fragments fly menacingly toward him. He manages to dodge, suffering only a few scratches. The traitor then continues the attack, but our MC uses his banner as a shield. With a confident look, the former apprentice readies his sword for a decisive strike against his old master. At that moment, he lunges forward with incredible speed, claiming our protagonist won't be able to dodge his fatal blow. Seeing this, the blonde girl who was saved screams in despair at the thought of her savior meeting his end. Even the skeletons panic, and one of them wonders how their sovereign will manage to escape. Meanwhile, the pink-haired woman just watches, thinking that if this is enough to finish her master, then so be it. But to everyone's surprise, someone jumps in to defend our boy. The pink-haired woman is shocked and wonders how our MC's servant broke free from her suppression. With an expression of pure rage, she yells at the servant to get out of the way immediately. He strains with tremendous force to hold back the traitor's sword. The traitor then becomes indignant, unable to believe that a mere mutant from this world can resist his power. But Iron Arms declares that even as a servant, he will fight for the sovereign who believes in him. Then with a swift move, he yeets the former apprentice away, showcasing his immense strength. Clenching his fists with determination, he prepares to show the true power of his iron fists. And with a mighty punch, he lands a solid hit on the traitor, stating that he will never bow to his commands. The impact is so powerful that the ex-apprentice is sent flying violently, creating a crater in the ground. Watching it all, the skeleton gets hyped up and says he's also fired up with excitement. Then, the skeleton begins to gather his strength to break free from the treasure that binds him. With his eyes glowing intensely, he shouts that he too will manage to break the chains that imprison him. And with a battle cry, he uses all his energy and shatters the golden treasure. The pink-haired woman is in disbelief, seeing that a cursed gull broke her treasure coins. Just then, the winged skeleton appears and tells Jun that he'll help him take care of the pretty lady. With that, the winged skeleton soars through the air while Jun attacks the pink-haired woman with his club. The woman gets annoyed by the gull's audacity, preparing an energy attack in her hands, finding them both amusing and irritating. She then uses one of her coins as a shield to block the blow. Meanwhile, the traitor compliments Iron Arm's skill for managing to break free from his suppression. But with a hateful expression, he threatens the servant, saying that next time, he'll make him beg for the end. The former apprentice then uses a technique with 48 illusory blades that are as lethal as real ones. Iron Arms can't dodge and is slammed hard against the wall. Suddenly, a mysterious rope flies at high speed towards the traitor, catching him completely by surprise. The traitor is shocked to see the rope and wonders why his old master would have it there. In the blink of an eye, the rope wraps around the former apprentice's body, completely immobilizing him with no chance of escape. Iron Arms then thanks him for the timely help. With the traitor immobilized, the servant approaches with a clenched fist, ready to land a decisive blow. And without hesitation, he lands a powerful uppercut right on the ex-apprentice's chin, who can do nothing. He continues to deliver a flurry of rapid-fire punches to the man. The girls celebrate the victory, and one of them says that Iron Arms is going to totally crush him. Iron Arms keeps punching, but the traitor's face begins to crumble as if it were made of clay. The servant then kneels, realizing something is wrong, as the enemy's body seems to be made of mud. Our protagonist explains that this is a nascent soul technique, and that using it consumes a lot of energy. Suddenly, a clay figure forms, and the real traitor taunts our young hero to fight him. With a smug smile, he accuses our boy of hiding behind gulls and artifacts. He then appears in his true form and says our MC can't call himself a master acting like that. The blonde girl gets desperate and tells our young hero not to fall for his taunt. Annoyed by the interference, the traitor yells at the girl, telling her she's too loud. He then launches a powerful sword slash in the girl's direction, who tries to back away. She's terrified by the murderous intent of the blow and realizes there's no way to escape. Even the skeletons realize they can't block the sword and think the woman is a goner. At that moment, our protagonist throws an object to try and defend against the apprentice's attack. The ex-apprentice scoffs, believing it's impossible to block the sword slash he launched. But suddenly, a shiny golden coin appears in the air, right in front of the sword's attack. The coin then blocks the sword's sure hit blow, to the surprise of the traitor, who wasn't expecting that. The pink-haired woman scolds her accomplice for attacking the other girl, but he says she's useless for protecting the master. At this, the pink-haired woman is shocked by his attitude and thinks she barely even recognizes him anymore. The former apprentice then pretends to be sorry, saying he lost his head in the heat of the moment. He thanks the pink-haired girl for defending the other one, and she starts to believe he's the same person as before. Suddenly, everyone sees that our MC's weapon is stuck in the fountain. The blonde girl then realizes he didn't protect her but threw the weapon into the fountain and wonders why. The traitor starts laughing and asks if our young hero has completely lost his mind to do something like that. But he stops laughing when he notices something strange happening in the spiritual water spring. He watches closely as the water begins to bubble more and more intensely and mysteriously. Suddenly, a huge explosion of flames erupts from the water spring, completely surprising the traitors. From the flames emerges the image of a massive, imposing phoenix made of pure fire. The skeletons are amazed and say it's a real phoenix with an aura from ancient times. The other girl realizes the phoenix came from the sword and remembers that she tried to absorb that same weapon before. The former apprentice can't believe what he's seeing and says there isn't enough energy in this world for a phoenix to appear. Our protagonist then explains that if the spring exists even with little energy, it's because it has a special guide. Our young hero explains that there are only two guide substances, and the traitor concludes it must be the spiritual rhinoceros crystal. The blonde then comments that this crystal is useless for humans, but is great for nurturing divine weapons. The pink-haired girl thinks that even though her master is evil, his knowledge and judgment are impressive. At that moment, the fire phoenix begins to move, spreading its flames everywhere with great intensity. The former apprentice has a panicked expression as the flames approach him menacingly. With that, the phoenix's flames begin to rage, surrounding the traitors who have nowhere to run. The traitor gets scared and says that's the sacred phoenix fire and that a single touch can melt anyone. Desperate, he yells for the pink-haired woman to retreat because they have no way of winning this fight. But our young hero's immortal rope appears again and wraps around the traitor, who was trying to escape. The rope tightens around the apprentice, preventing him from continuing his escape. The traitor yells that the master has survived for another day, and that he will return for revenge. The girls approach and ask why our MC didn't chase them down to finish them off once and for all. Our boy then explains that nurturing a divine weapon doesn't mean it has truly recovered all its power. Looking at the fire phoenix, he reveals to the girls that the whole thing was actually just a bluff. Holding his weapon, the phoenix's fire begins to slowly dissipate into the air. The skeletons are impressed and comment that their master's judgment and strategy are formidable. Our young hero then thanks Iron Arms for his work, and the servant is shocked to be thanked. With the battle over, our boy invites everyone to join, as 1 hour in there is equivalent to 3 months of cultivation. The blonde girl is super excited at the chance to get stronger, since she could only be protected during the battles. In a hurry, she runs towards the spring and takes off her clothes, shouting that she needs a power breakthrough. And without a second thought, she throws herself into the water, saying she's on her way. Our young hero then explains to her that the spring is a non-Newtonian fluid that gets hard with force. The blonde gets angry and asks why he didn't warn her about the spring's properties beforehand. The blonde girl gets out of the water and says she isn't swayed by sweet talk, showing her strong personality. The skeletons also decide to enter the spring. They comment that the sensation is great and that they can feel their bones and nerve cells growing rapidly. Iron Arms reflects that he never thought he'd be a servant, but admits the feeling isn't so bad after all. The other girl feels the pain in her body disappear and says "Esla," a tingling sensation. Meanwhile, the OTHR blonde says she also needs to awaken her power, so she doesn't hold her master back anymore. Inside the water, she feels her body changing, and an overwhelming sense of comfort takes over her completely. Then something in her mind begins to reawaken, and she remembers the profound teachings of her master. In her memories, she sees the two of them fighting demons together and causing natural disasters wherever they went. The memory gets darker, showing the calamity they brought, and she wonders who that man was. Back in the present, the blonde girl accuses our young hero of being responsible for all the evil and disasters. With a look full of rage and conviction, she screams in his face that he is a true demon. But our protagonist ignores it all, because he has just advanced to the initial stage of the Golden Core. He then notices that his perception of the environment has become much clearer and more sensitive than before. With this new ability, he can sense his servants' thoughts and sees that they are satisfied. With a slight smile on his face, our boy seems quite pleased with his new power. The blonde girl suddenly feels a chill and realizes that he might have heard her thoughts. Say she summons her powerful and menacing sword. With the sword in hand, she faces him and calls him a demon, saying he should have been gone a long time ago. Then she charges with all her might, screaming at our boy to give up his life. Seeing this, the other girl is shocked and doesn't understand why her friend is attacking our MC. Iron Arms is also shocked and wonders how a common person suddenly became so strong. TH Skeleton panics, thinking their master won't be able to block such a powerful blow. Our MC analyzes that her strength should be low, but the sword is too powerful, and he can't block it. At this, he decides he'll have to self-destruct his golden core to survive and then recover it later. The girl then advances the final blow while our young hero releases a red aura. But at the last second, she notices something strange, and her attack stops suddenly. She suddenly faints, leaving everyone confused. The servant wonders what happened and THINcasts that HE was ready to sacrifice himself to block the sword. Our young hero then asks one of the skeletons to check what's going on with the blonde girl. The skeleton then approaches and carefully begins to lift the unconscious girl out of the water spring. The skeleton explains that the girl's neural pathways were blocked, which is why she fainted. He deduces that it's a mind control technique. Our protagonist becomes thoughtful upon hearing about the mind control technique used against the girl. He remembers that the traitor mastered this technique, and is thankful he interfered with the girl's attack. With that, our boy slowly bends down and picks up the blonde's sword, which is lying on the ground. He then points the blade at the girl and says there's no longer any reason to keep her around. The other girl and the servants panic, screaming desperately for him not to do it. Her friend throws herself in front and begs him to take her life instead of her little sister's. Our young hero just scoffs dismissively and throws the sword hard against the wall. With a cold look, he warns that when he leaves the spring, The next time he sees her, it will be to end her. Then our boy calls his loyal servants and says that his apprentices framed him for things he never did. He dives into the spring, thinking that if he doesn't get them first, they will surely come after him, la ter. Our MC then realizes that the spring is an entrance to other worlds, full of dangers and opportunities. With a determined expression on his face, he seems ready to face any challenge. Diving deeper, he finds a wall of glowing crystals and says that he's found the right place. He then continues to swim downward, following the crystal wall. Our young hero finds a secret passage in the crystal wall and decides to enter to see what's on the other side. As he passes through, he feels a different energy and notices that the water around him is glowing intensely. Suddenly, he emerges into a completely new place, surrounded by a dense, glowing fog. He is impressed by the spiritual energy of the place, commenting that it's as dense as that of the old immortal realm. However, our MC realizes the energy is toxic but believes he can resist it for at least 1 hour. But suddenly, a massive swarm of mosquito-like creatures appears. The insects are very strange and look quite dangerous with their sharp stingers and red eyes. Our boy then orders his servant Ming, Jun, to take care of the insects, and the skeleton advances into battle. Our young hero notices that defeating the mosquitoes gives his weapon experience and concludes they are an advanced class. With a satisfied smile on his face, he realizes he's found a great opportunity to get stronger. With that, his weapon starts to spin rapidly, creating a vortex that destroys some insects. His servants then begin to devour the defeated monsters, saying they feel stronger from it. Excited, they see an even larger group of insects approaching and prepare for the feast. Then, the minions charge with everything they've got against the swarm and start destroying the mosquitoes with great excitement. The banner of 10,000 souls levels up to 6 and activates a new soul nurturing ability. Our young hero smiles at the new ability, finding it very interesting for his future plans. With that, he raises his banner and summons the spirits to suck the energy from the insects. Suddenly, all the mosquitoes are trapped inside a cubic barrier with no chance of escape. And inside, the insects begin to taiki. Meanwhile, back at the spring, the blonde girl finally wakes up from her faint and looks around, confused. She then sees the other girl still relaxing in the spring and seems to be thinking about what to do next. Angrily, she grabs her sword and decides she'll finish off that villain's accomplice first. The other girl senses the murderous intent and realizes the blonde is no longer the same innocent girl from before. She then regrets saving her but threatens her, saying she'll break her leg if she tries anything. The blonde holds her sword tightly, but her expression shows she's in a major internal conflict. She wonders what's wrong with her, since a villain is a villain, and her friend is just her friend. However, she concludes that she can't just recklessly take out innocent people. With that, she starts to walk away, and the other girl asks where she's going in such a hurry. Psu the cave. She thinks about the sword and concludes that her master is determined to see her gone. She wonders why her brother would want to end her just for siding with the master. With that, standing on a cliff, she convinces herself that the master is a villain, and that she must trust her older brother. Suddenly, an evil laugh echoes through the air, and the girl is surprised to recognize the familiar voice. Realizing it's her brother's laugh, her headache gets much worse, and she screams in agony. The pain completely overwhelms her. Back in the other world, our boy meditates peacefully while his servants continue to annihilate the insects. With 100 souls collected, he realizes the mosquitoes no longer give experience and decides to stop. Our young hero stands up and gubias as Bananar. But suddenly, a giant mosquito wing appears out of nowhere, abruptly blocking his path. Next to see the enormous body of the giant insect. They then realize it's a commander beast, a powerful creature that leads the entire insect swarm. The skeleton is shocked by the creature's powerful aura. The giant monster lunges forward quickly, trying to pierce our protagonist with its lethal, sharp stinger. However, the blow is blocked at the last second by Iron Arms. Iron Arms manages to stop the attack, but his arm is severely damaged, and he screams in pain from the impact. The servant then warns his sovereign that this place is too dangerous and that they need to retreat as soon as possible. Our protagonist agrees to the withdrawal, as his resistance to the environment's poison is almost at its limit. But he looks at the monster and regrets having to abandon a treasure like that, since it gives so much experience. Our young hero feels he can't hold on any longer and decides he needs to leave. With that, he and his weapon move at high speed back towards the passage in the crystal wall. Our boy then thinks that this world is too dangerous and that he needs more strength. Suddenly he looks back and wonders if the giant mosquito somehow managed to follow him. and to his surprise, the monstrous insect shatters the crystal barrier and manages to cross to the other side. The creature looks pretty ticked off. However, the monster begins to shrink rapidly. Our young hero smiles, realizing the creature has been suppressed by the rules of this world and has become much weaker. Seizing the chance, he declares the bug isn't going anywhere and attacks to capture it in his banner. The giant insect is then trapped in the same cubic barrier as before, along with the other smaller mosquitoes. And inside, the monster begins to be slowly crushed and absorbed by the power of our MC's weapon. Our young hero then understands that the creature was suppressed because of its bloodline. He then decides that instead of looking for another world, he'll explore the area to get stronger. Remembering the blonde accusing him, he wonders why he's always seen as the big bad of the story. At this, he reflects on the betrayal and concludes that to solve these mysteries, he needs more power. Then our protagonist asks Iron Arms about the commander level he mentioned. The servant then says he has a catalog and that his sovereign can take a look to better understand the situation. Upon opening the scroll, our boy sees a map with various creatures and locations marked, and he thinks it's great. With that, he gets out of the water and the other girl sees him, asking in surprise where he had gone. Our young hero asks where the blonde is, and the girl replies that she left and tried to attack her. Oh, our boy Kaimament's T8, once someone turns evil, there's no going back. She gets out of the spring and says it's a good thing the blonde didn't do anything, or she would have finished HER herself. Dressed and ready to leave, the girl asks our MC what their next destination will be. Our protagonist replies that they are heading to the next spirit cave, which is just ahead. Meanwhile, a group of adventurers finds the OTR Tario collapsed in the middle of the road. They approach and notice that the beautiful fallen girl is the blonde, and because she has a sword, they deduce she's a mutant. One of the men then calls for a girl named Yu to help. With a surprised expression, the girl approaches to see what's wrong with the fallen woman. Looking at the blonde, she feels a familiar sensation, as if a bond of fate somehow unites them. Then the white-haired girl uses a green energy to try and heal HER. Yo-Yo explains that the girl suffered a mental attack, but luckily they found her in time to help. With the treatment, the blonde begins to slowly awaken, mumbling a little. She then slowly opens her eyes, still a bit confused. Upon seeing Yo-Yo, the blonde calls her junior sister, and Yo-Yo asks in surprise if she's talking to her. THB realizes that Yo-Yo has also lost her memory. One of the adventurers comments that she was the victim of a mental attack and wonders who could be so cruel. Suddenly, the blonde screams in pain as she feels a sharp pang in her head, worrying everyone. She then puts her hands on her head while Yu says the mental attack would have been fatal without her help. The girl remembers her brother's laugh and realizes he attacked her and wants to see her gone. With a strange smile, she tells Yu that her older brother wants to end her life. Yu becomes even more confused and asks who this brother is and how she knows her name. The blonde then asks Yu what to do, as she doesn't know who to trust, her brother or her master. With a wary expression, she says she doesn't know anything anymore and is completely lost. Yu says she doesn't understand but remembers that as mutants, their destiny is to fight demons and save the world. These words ignite a flame of determination in the blonde, who agrees with everything that was said. With an electric aura, she says she will trust in herself and fight alongside Yu to save the world.
A masked dude introduces himself as Wang Zongyang and welcomes Lin Wangku to the Qinjiang squad. He proposes they team up to eliminate the evil spirits and save some people. Teammate Lin agrees to the proposal, showing a super determined look about the mission she's about to embark on. The group heads towards a cave entrance, and leader Wang Zongyang gives a heads up that this is a spirit cave full of stones. The scene cuts to a ruined landscape, and a huge sign marks the entrance to the dangerous Yangtze City. Walking through this wrecked place, our MC and the suspicious Lin Wangku continue their trek. She looks surprised and questions if they're in the wrong spot. Our hero explains that the atlas indicates the spirit cave is just ahead, but the catch is that this location is actually the dangerous Yangtze City. Leader Wang Zongyang comments that Yangtze was the first place to suffer the changes, and the casualty count passed 1 million people. He adds that over 10 reinforcement teams were totally wiped out, calling this place a literal hell on earth. Teammate Lin runs after our MC as he walks away, asking him to wait, because she really doesn't want to be left alone in such a sketchy place. The suspicious girl thinks to herself that she's improved a lot in the last few days, so she believes her self-defense skills won't be a major issue. Lin thinks that having Subai around means she shouldn't worry, but the number of common zombies is in the thousands of hungry creatures. The teammate then looks around and realizes they just entered the city, but the sheer number of creatures is terrifying. Just then, our hero gives a cheeky grin upon seeing the system notification stating that the goo cultivation is complete. He just scored a goo king. Our MC raises his staff in the air and orders the new goo king to handle everything while he holds his weapon. Suddenly, a giant creature resembling a mosquito appears. Wrapped in a red aura, it charges at the zombie horde to start the battle. The goo king attacks the zombie horde at high speed, destroying the creatures with impressive brutality. Wang Zongyang, the team leader, observes Subai's new servant and comments that the new creature's power is incredible, sensing an aura superior to his own. Thinking about this, Wang Zongyang shows his determination, realizing he needs to grind harder to get stronger. Meanwhile, our hero and the suspicious Lin Wangku look at the bodies on the ground. She comments that the fight was super fast and her worries were unnecessary. He congratulates the new creature and orders the Goo King to return to his staff, mentioning that in the future, it'll have the chance to become a boss-level slave. The creature presents itself before Subai, demonstrating its will to become a royal slave, swearing to try its absolute hardest. At that moment, a hand pops out from the rubble, dragging itself out of the debris left from the battle. An elderly gentleman calls out to our MC and the teammate, asking them to wait. He looks terrified. The old man approaches the duo and thanks them for saving everyone, but warns them not to go any further down the path. Teammate Lin smiles confidently at the old guy, reassuring him that they are people with special abilities and pretty strong powers. The old man shakes his head negatively, warning that they have no idea what dangers the city is hiding. He explains that Yangtze City was the first to fall to the apocalypse. The monsters in the suburbs are weak, but in the center, they get way more powerful. He says there are monsters taller than skyscrapers over there, so strong they eliminate zombies like they're slicing through watermelons. He laments that a team of 20 super-powered individuals was completely annihilated without a chance to react. The gentleman also reports seeing a very strong man and woman running hand in hand, but in the end, the man was smashed to pulp by the monster. With the old man's warning, teammate Lin asks our hero if they should retreat and avoid the danger. Wang Zongyang appears in Subai's consciousness, warning about the dangers ahead and saying the priority is for our MC to improve his strength first. Our boy just smiles, appearing to agree with his spectral servant. Then, our hero declares that luck has always been on his side, and every situation is an opportunity he needs to seize. The old man comments on how hard it is to convince the suspicious Lin and her partner to retreat, while a little girl asks if they are going to face the giant monster. With a smile of relief, the old man tells the kid to call everyone out, saying they are free to leave since the zombies have been eliminated. The kids celebrate and scream with joy, saying everyone is saved because Grandpa said they can leave. Then, various people start coming out of their hiding spots, celebrating the freedom they just got. A crowd runs happily down the street, screaming with emotion about being saved and out of imminent danger. Suddenly, someone warns that Xiaodong's real grandpa is still in the basement and yells for the boy to come back. The boy gets confused and asks the old man next to him if he isn't his grandpa, noticing the man's terrifying look. The old man smiles wickedly and starts laughing with a scary expression. Suddenly, several tentacles burst from the old man's body. He asks the crowd if they finally had the guts to come out, revealing he is starving. People scream and run in despair when they see the creature, exclaiming that it's a giant mutant monster. The monster attacks the humans with its tentacles, grabbing several people at once while the horde screams in terror. The giant creature holds several humans with its tentacles, and the victims scream in terror, begging for help. The monster shows its evil eyes and sharp teeth, ready to devour everyone in an instant. With that, the creature's mouth opens wide, swallowing all the humans held by the tentacles. Darkness takes over the scene, and the ground is stained with the fluids of the victims who were just devoured. Lin Wangku walks along the street with the protagonist. The suspicious Lin smells a strong monster scent in the air and realizes there isn't a living soul in that place. Lin suggests to Subai that they change their route, but our boy replies that they are almost at their destination. The teammate claims she also has a lot of courage, guaranteeing she will follow our hero even into dangerous places. Just then, a hand with sharp claws grabs Lin's leg. The creature looks hungry and ready to attack. The creature's mouth opens huge, revealing countless teeth. Lin gets scared seeing monsters popping out from everywhere, realizing they've fallen into an ambush in the city. Our hero stays chill and orders his slaves to attack immediately, with blue sparks flying around. The Goo King dashes like lightning onto the battlefield, destroying enemies with frightening force. Our MC gets a notification of the monster's defeat and gains 10,000 experience points. Subai thinks these advanced monsters would be mini-bosses anywhere else. He lets out a smirk, thinking about the whole situation. The fight is just beginning for our boy. At that moment, the Skeleton Knight and the Birdman appear to fight, and our hero orders them to take out the enemy now. The Skeleton Birdman moves rapidly through the air, showing off his scary look to all the enemies. The flying creature ascends and unleashes a powerful sonic roar against the horde. Our MC looks at the bird monster and praises his servant, saying his sonic power has increased quite a bit. The Knight of the Underworld charges in while the Birdman attacks the evil spirits. This combo isn't bad for our hero. Lin's club hits a monster's head with force, smashing the creature easily. Lin wonders why they are only taking out low-level monsters while Subai is just standing there. The protagonist grips his weapon, preparing to use his special skills. With that, our hero blasts blue energy everywhere, saying this is just to clear the path. The teammate and our MC continue walking near a tall building. This is the second stage of the mission. Subai smiles seeing the system level up the 10,000 souls banner to level 7, having absorbed 1,000 souls very quickly. Then our boy activates the refining skill of the 10,000 souls banner, converting the absorbed energy for his servants. A huge pot starts sucking in the energy. The object provides better incentive methods for his servants. The Knight of the Underworld feels his strength returning rapidly, feeling even better than before. Meanwhile, the Goo King relentlessly attacks the creatures with brutality, taking out the monsters. The Goo King thinks the master has a way to make him improve, so if he eliminates targets faster, he might become an official servant. The suspicious Lin kicks a creature with force, destroying the monster. Lin thinks the constant massacre is exhausting her, but she feels she has absorbed the rest of the spiritual energy. The teammate smiles at our hero, understanding that his intention is to help her grow in power. Lin looks at Subai and says she commits to him for the rest of her life. With that, Lin waves to our MC, while Wang Zongyang is in the background shouting excitedly. The cane-holding monster gentleman from before appears again. Lin questions the old man about what he's doing there, and the gentleman says he can't leave them alone. The gentleman reveals that Subai is the strongest ability user he has ever seen but warns them not to go any further. Our hero looks at the gentleman, seeming thoughtful about the warning. Subai turns around and holds his banner firmly. Our MC orders everyone to prepare for battle, but tells the old man not to worry about them. Lin sees a tentacle behind the elderly man and gets spooked by what she sees. The teammate screams desperately while the tentacles pin her tightly to the street. With that, the monster's mouth opens again, about to devour Lin Wangqiu. Our boy prepares to attack the enemy with his weapon. Subai concentrates his energy into the weapon, firing a massive blue shockwave against the monster. The protagonist leaps into the air towards Lin and the tentacles and attacks the giant monster. Our hero manages to cut the tentacles with his weapon, and teammate Lin is freed. Subai catches her in mid-air. Then the suspicious girl says Subai is a worthy immortal lord, realizing he advanced to the golden core stage and his perception improved. The giant monster regenerates in the blink of an eye. Lin coughs nearby, admitting she was very silly for getting caught. Our boy holds Lin and uses his green energy to heal her, telling her not to speak. Lin asks our hero not to worry about her and focus on the enemies. The monster laughs loudly with a mouth full of evil teeth, saying they figured him out. But it doesn't matter at the end of the battle. Next, the creature's giant mouth opens completely, showing that our MC and the teammate will be his lunch for the day. At that moment, the skeleton knight steps in front and warns the monster to stop the attitude. It needs to ask permission before touching his lord. The tentacles quickly attack the Knight of the Underworld, but he defends well against the creature's brutal strikes. The knight then laughs, saying the enemy is exactly what he expected, while the tentacles get sliced up. Meanwhile, the Goo King attacks the creature's body, bragging that his specialty is speed and assassination. The Goo King pierces one of the creature's tentacles and shouts that he will dominate the monster's blood quickly. The Goo King sucks the blood from the monster's body, showing he can injure the creature easily while attacking. But the monster tries to counterattack, and one of its tentacles smashes the Goo King against the wall with surprising brutality. The creature taunts our hero's servants, calling them too noisy and asking if they are worthy of sucking its blood. Suddenly, a silhouette falls from the sky at great speed. A man drops from above, its iron fist, shouting at the monster that he's going to hit it with a powerful punch. Le Minguin's punch hits the giant monster's tentacle, managing to make the creature tremble a bit, showing off his strength. Le Minguin gets scared by what he sees and shouts that the situation is very bad. The creature's mouth fills with spikes, and the cowardly traitor is thrown inside the monster's body. He questions if this was a trap. Le Minguin realizes he is inside the monster's body and the situation is total despair for the guy. He screams for his lord to run because that monster is more powerful than a commander, and they shouldn't fight. Then the Knight of the Underworld tries to help Le Minguin, telling him not to panic, but the King of the Underworld is cautious with the beast. Even so, the Knight of the Underworld notices the severed tentacle moving on its own, questioning if this part of the creature can survive independently. The knight charges and attacks the tentacle quickly to protect Lai Mingwen. At that moment, the suspicious Lin opens her eyes and realizes the situation isn't good for anyone there. Subai tells his teammate that the old man who gave the warning wasn't normal, and anyone with common sense would know he was suspicious for being in a place full of zombies. The teammate agrees with our hero and says she understands the situation. Lin complains to Subai, asking him not to be so annoying with her, claiming she is still just a helpless girl. Our MC gets irritated and teases that she doesn't act like a normal girl. He says the teammate doesn't look like a girl, but Lin screams that he's going to pass away and she feels hurt by how she was treated. Lin gets annoyed with Subai and thinks about wishing our hero stays single forever because of his attitude. Our MC looks forward while holding his weapon, and Lin is kneeling nearby. Subai thinks that after forming the Golden Core, he still hasn't discovered his spiritual sea and wonders what he can touch. Our hero then opens his inventory. The protagonist turns around and realizes he is holding something. Then our boy pulls out his special weapon, showing he can use the power of the spiritual sea. Subai's weapon is a very different sword with a red eye in the center, looking very strong. The protagonist raises the sword in the air, and it glows with purple energy. He says this blade eliminates gods and is called the God-slaying blade. Our hero grips the sword firmly and says it's good to see his old friend again, as it's been a long time since they met. With that, Subai raises the sword, ready to attack the monster with the God-slaying blade. The monster sees our MC and thinks he is doing cheap tricks, so the creature asks what the Wandering Divinity Realm and the Golden Core Realm are. Then the monster screams at our hero that he's going to expire and opens its giant mouth full of teeth. The sword glows with intense power in the center of the red eye. Our hero leaps from the ground, ready to attack the monster with great speed. The monster gets startled seeing our MC jumping with the glowing sword and questions what is happening. Our boy charges towards the creature and delivers a powerful blow with the God-slaying blade. The blade traverses the monster's body with thundering force, showing the attack was successful. Then the monster's body explodes with a yellow glow, and destruction takes over the location. Li Mingwen is thrown out of the monster after the explosion, groaning in pain as he falls to the ground surrounded by mutilated tentacles. The suspicious Lin observes the protagonist's power and questions if this is the strength of an immortal lord, praising Subai for being very powerful. Lin Wangku walks over the rubble with her servants nearby, laughing with satisfaction at the attack's result. But the monster regenerates and warns our hero not to think he won the fight prematurely. The monster reveals its body is invincible and shows a new mouth full of sharp teeth. The creature demonstrates it really is invincible and lets out a huge scream. The giant monster guarantees it is invincible, laughing loudly. Our MC replies he wasn't there to eliminate the creature, he just needed to rescue Iron Fist, his knight of the underworld. At that moment, the knight of the underworld gets up from the ground, thanking our hero for being saved. The servant composes himself and guarantees he won't disappoint him in battle. Subai gives a smirk and thinks to himself that if he's right, someone else will eliminate the monster. The suspicious Lin and the knight of the underworld prepare for the fight. The protagonist is very confident and warns the monster that someone else will do the job of taking it out. Our hero keeps smiling, knowing this is the perfect moment. The monster's evil eyes shine with intense fury, showing the creature didn't like our hero's provocation at all. The creature grows large and screams at our MC that he and his servants must be its food. The monster really wants to evolve to a disaster level. With its huge tentacles, the monster charges fast towards Subai and Lin. It screams that it wants to turn into a disaster-level monster, and our hero grabs the suspicious girl. Our boy then starts running with her. The giant monster screams for our hero to stop running forward. It warns that if they advance further into the city, they are doomed. Our MC stops suddenly. Subai laughs at the monster and says the one doomed is the beast itself. The giant monster gets very scared seeing someone's shadow. The monster shrinks in fear and quickly looks up. The mysterious shadow is on top of the building. The monster looks at the giant octopus with its fierce red eyes. As soon as the mantis appears, the marine creature gets scared. It shows huge teeth, and its red eyes glow with hate. The mantis then jumps from the top of the building. The mantis attacks the tentacle beast with its sharp claws. The tentacle creature writhes in pain and tells the whole mantis to get lost. It complains that it lost its delicious snack. The mantis replies that it's ridiculous for another monster to enter its territory. It asks how the beast dares to tell the area boss to leave. Even though it doesn't want to fight, the tentacle beast says it just drank the blood of many people. The mantis just watches it. The irritated creature screams again that it doesn't fear the mantis. It attacks with its huge tentacles, trying to scare the new threat. Meanwhile, Subai and Lin just watch the brawl between the creatures. A giant cut appears on the ground due to the power of the attack. Teammate Lin asks our MC who the mantis is. Our boy explains that he is the big boss of this entire area of the city. Our hero smiles and says the mutant octopus became the old man to stop them. He explains this means there is something ahead that the monster fears, so they must advance. With that, our boy repeats that someone is going to take care of eliminating the monster. He and the teammate move away from the fight to continue on their path. Then the mantis lands a hit, but the octopus manages to grab one of its legs. Blood starts to drip from the monster's body. The octopus calls the mantis and asks it to listen. It proposes they unite to find and eliminate the stronger enemy. But the mantis doesn't care about cooperation and prepares another series of attacks. The mantis attacks again and screams that it will devour the tentacle monster. As soon as the mantis unleashes the attacks, the octopus spits a strange slime on it. The mantis exclaims that the other monster is extremely smelly. At that moment, the mantis announces that the tentacle monster's core has been hit. It guarantees the creature will be unalived shortly. The tentacle monster gets furious and screams that the mantis's body is full of its venom. It says the enemy has no chance of surviving. With that, our hero walks through the forming dust and says the fight between the two was comfortable to watch. Tsubai smiles and declares that now it is his turn to join the action. He looks at the giant monsters with determination and a smirk. The tentacle monster gets annoyed and blames the mantis for the situation. It complains that the two are allowing others to take all the glory, and the other beast coughs endlessly. It gives up the fight and tells the mantis it won't play anymore. The tentacle creature turns around and says goodbye to flee the battle. Our MC watches the monster fleeing in a hurry and says escape won't be that easy. He keeps a serious gaze on the beast. Tsubai then summons his servant, the birdman, and calls him to battle. The winged skeleton appears with speed. The tentacle monster warns our hero not to waste time with him. The creature guarantees it is immune to spiritual attacks. Our boy ignores the monster's warning, and the god-slaying blade glows purple. The protagonist prepares to launch his strongest strike. With that, Tsubai leaps onto the creature and delivers his powerful attack. The protagonist's blow hits the creature dead on. Blue energy explodes in the tentacle monster's body. The beast screams in pain as the energy destroys it completely. The blue energy explodes around the monster, and it gets caught in Tsubai's attack. Our hero has his sword firmly in the ground. The tentacle monster wonders why its body was destroyed by the protagonist's attack. He says that those who reach the soul realm don't worry about external wounds. Tsubai smiles and explains that the reason the god-slaying blade is invincible is quite simple. The protagonist reveals that the weapon's teeth can rip the souls out of enemies. The monster screams in pain, saying that is impossible. Our hero notes the monster was full of energy before, but now the soul removal came at a high price. He says the creature is out of strength. Then the protagonist raises his banner to use against the giant octopus. Tsubai orders the monster's soul to come into his banner. The creature despairs and screams that it doesn't want to be sucked into the weapon. The tentacle monster's soul screams in pain because a strong blue energy sucks it rapidly into our hero's staff. The Goo King, our MC's servant, says the monster is very powerful and they might lose their special servant status because of this. The servants watch intently around the intense blue energy hitting the ground with full force and power. The blue energy explodes intensely on the ground, launching sharp spikes everywhere, showing the power of the final attack. Our MC smiles at his servants and thanks them for the effort, saying he will transform that soul into energy for them. The Knight of the Underworld and the Goo King look at each other very surprised, not understanding our MC's plan in this moment of action. With that, the servants bow and thank him for the reward, promising they are willing to sacrifice their lives for Tsubai. Blue energy flows from the staff rapidly, and the servants absorb it, feeling incredible power in their bodies and getting very happy. Our hero thinks that he must always reward and punish at the right time so his servants will never betray him again. With the plan finished, our hero stands firm holding his staff, then notices the mantis has vanished. Tsubai thinks that in the Golden Core stage, he can use his spiritual consciousness to perceive what is nearby. Our hero focuses his gaze quickly and starts using his spiritual consciousness to find his next enemy. Our boy stops in the center of the city holding his god-slaying blade, preparing for the next duel. With that, our hero looks quickly behind him, then runs towards the danger, warning that the next enemy is right there. Our boy delivers a powerful energy strike. Our hero attacked from below, and the blade hits the giant creature squarely, making the monster complain. The creature screams in pain and gets very irritated with our hero because of the surprise attack. At that moment, the tentacle creature screams to its lord that it needs to be saved from the immense pain it's feeling. A powerful voice speaks in the environment and asks who dared to enter Yangtze City causing confusion. Our MC turns around and the evil voice questions if he is already tired of living in that gloomy place. Our hero feels very strong pressure and realizes this is the soul realm, a superior energy coming from the monster. A dark hand appears in the sky quickly, seeming to want to attack our hero with all its evil strength. Then the hand grows and transforms into a claw of yellow energy, hitting the mantis with total power. The mantis screams that our MC's time has come, but Tsubai is calm and ready for battle. The monster asks who is the human that dared to attack it, while the protagonist's image reflects in its eye. Our hero leaps to attack quickly using the blade on the monster. Meanwhile, Tsubai focuses on sucking energy from the mantis in time. A large explosion of yellow light happens at that moment, so the suspicious Lin screams Tsubai's name to warn about the danger. Then the powerful hand-shaped blow hits the ground. Teammate Lin and the servants get scared about what could have happened to Tsubai. The main monster appears in flames and laughs in our MC's face, saying he was easily defeated. Suddenly, the creature gets startled. The monster questions what that powerful energy enveloping our MC's body right now is. At that moment, our hero is wrapped in blue energy. and his servants are very happy about their lord's victory. The Knight of the Underworld realizes our hero absorbed the octopus monster's abilities and his power was restored. A man in Chinese clothes wrapped in fire appears from afar and says he is very good at what he does. The man thinks to himself that our MC looks a lot like a benefactor he knew in the past. He looks closely at Subai and comments that the protagonist's weapon looks a lot like the benefactor's sword. The scene cuts to a dark cave, and the demonic bull seems to want to remember something important from the past. A monkey gets scared by the bull scene and tries to flee quickly away from the great enemy present there. The demon bull has eyes glowing red and looks very irritated with a memory that surfaced. The large horned creature attacks fiercely, throwing the monkeys far away with its powerful and destructive energy. The monkey screams in terror as it's thrown into the air, trying to grab onto something to avoid falling. The silhouette of a sword master descends from the heavens with his weapon ready to attack the enemy with power. Then the sword warrior lands from the sky. The sword warrior raises the weapon to the sky at this moment, preparing to perform a powerful attack. With eyes glowing blue, the warrior shouts that the demon bull is a terrible monster and he will eliminate it. The warrior charges for the strike and unleashes the god, slaying blade on the monster with speed and power. The sword warrior delivers the blow on the bull monster, shouting for the beast to expire immediately, and a lot of blue energy explodes on the creature instantly. Then the large explosion of blue light covers the entire area with brutal intensity. After the smoke clears, the sword warrior stands while blue energy still glows around, and the powerful sword remains stuck in the ground. The warrior thinks that his benefactor unalived people from the divine realm even at the golden core level, and he was almost dying at the time. With the benefactor injured on the ground, no one dared to approach him, and animals surrounded him with curious looks. At that moment, a hand appears from above offering a peach to the man lying down. Only he gathered fruits for the injured benefactor. The monkey remembers with a gentle smile. Leaving, the benefactor gave the monkey a spiritual technique from heaven while they walked there. The technique allows absorbing essences from the earth and sky by eating various fruits, thus evolving rapidly. The man with flaming hair finishes his thought and shows irritation on his face. On top of a broken building piece, our hero stands still with a very serious look. The fireman lists Subei's crimes. First, he looks like the benefactor and the weapon is the same. That's the second. Third, he took out his subordinates, and growing too fast is the fourth crime. Meanwhile, the fireman's fist becomes wrapped in blue energy, and he prepares for the attack. With that, the fireman leaps to attack with a huge wave of blue energy, shouting that Subei must perish. The wave of blue energy from the attack moves fast, violently destroying several buildings around. With the explosion of blue energy coming from the attack, buildings fly everywhere. Our boy defends himself from the blow while all his servants fall stunned. At that moment, the Knight of the Underworld asks if our hero should flee, because he might get blown away. And the Goo King says the octopus and the mantis were already commander level, so this disaster level beast was expected. Meanwhile, Subei looks at the monster, concentrated on the combat with the Goo King on his shoulder. He warns there is no way to flee from this realm, and they absorb beings beyond the commander level. If they don't fight a disaster level, it will be demoralizing. Our MC shows a smirk. He already has an attack plan in his head. Subei orders everyone to fight immediately, and his servants reply that the order will be followed. Then the Goo King shows his determination to fight, thinking he wants to achieve a feat and become an official servant. Iron Fist, Subei's servant, thinks that where a disaster-level monster appears, disaster follows, but if he were alive, he would run now. But the master gave him a new life, and the servant swears to follow all orders. Iron Fist, Subei's servant, runs to attack with great determination, shouting his will to fight. The Knight of the Underworld says their lives came from the master, and there is nothing to hesitate about in this battle. While the fireman watches them, Subei's servants run at him, and the Knight of the Underworld shouts excitedly. The fireman concentrates and blue energy appears in his hand. He is ready for combat against Subei's servants. A huge explosion of blue energy takes over the scene when the Knight of the Underworld charges at the man in flames. The Knight of the Underworld is hit by the explosion and covered in blue ice. The servant is enveloped by blue energy along with Iron Fist, who runs behind him. The fireman smirks and shouts for Subei's servants to get lost immediately. The servants start falling from the sky. Fallen on the ground, the Knight of the Underworld feels the power of the blow and screams in pain. Our hero stands holding his staff with his servant down, and Iron Fist groans in pain. At that moment, the fireman stands on water with blue energy around him, and Lin watches him. Iron Fist wonders if the monster is really disaster level, and dread takes over him. The Knight of the Underworld says he could cut the enemy with one blow if he recovered his strength. But the Goo King tells him to shut up, because they are way below his level. The suspicious Lin watches the fight with her green eyes, very focused and worried. Teammate Lin questions if Subei is there in the middle of the chaos. Our MC looks at the monster with a gaze of pure fury and questions what it is doing. The suspicious Lin asks Subai if he went crazy because of the fight with the monster. The Knight of the Underworld warns that the power difference between them is enormous. The Knight of the Underworld still insists they can escape that dangerous place quickly, but the fireman mocks them, saying luck is not with Subai. The fireman asks why our boy isn't fleeing and finds the challenge very interesting. Thus, he accepts the fight to see the strength of the Golden Core. With that, our hero grips his banner firmly. Our MC charges very fast for the attack, and the fireman just laughs. He says Subai's blow is too slow. Our hero jumps very high over the monster and delivers a direct hit. The enemy uses some clones to try to defend himself. The protagonist's banner starts to glow. The skeleton knight remains focused on the strike while his helmet glows with intense blue light. The underworld banner grows immense behind the fireman. The fireman floats away and questions the magic weapon he is seeing. He thinks the servant's power display is just a bluff. At that moment, the monkey man generates energy in his hand. Then the monkey man throws the power towards the protagonist. The fireman gets very irritated and wonders if his skill missed the attack. Teammate Lin asks why the monster stopped attacking suddenly. The Goo King questions what magic our hero used on him. The fireman sees the magic artifact and asks if it is a low-level object. He can't understand what is happening there. Our hero shouts that the monster has no time to think and orders the birdman to attack. The servant accepts the order and advances. The birdman flies very fast carrying our boy. The fireman gets very annoyed and tells our MC to stop talking nonsense. The monster shouts that Subai is just a golden core cultivator and casts his wind wall skill. The fireman gets startled and questions what just happened. The silhouette of our MC and his sword hang in the air. The weapon seems to have destroyed the monster. The suspicious Lin and her other companions look and are impressed by the precise attack. They think Subai's feat is very cool. Meanwhile, blue energy envelops the fireman's body, and he feels pain. The servant is attacking him rapidly. The monster doesn't understand how that was possible. He screams in pain from the energy wrapping him. Our MC explains that wind, fire, thunder, and lightning are natural phenomena. These forces of nature depend on something. And that important something is the air. Our hero finishes the thought with a focused look. Our hero's 10,000 souls banner can do more than absorb souls. It creates an energy vacuum in these four elements. The Knight of the Underworld understands that the monster lost the environment to use its spells. The teammate praises Subai's intelligence. The fireman laughs and says he was careless but asks if our hero thinks he can beat him with just the blade. He underestimates the difference in their understanding levels. With that, the monster transforms into a giant fire gorilla. He shouts that our MC won't leave Yangtze City alive. The Knight of the Underworld warns that the disaster-level monster can self-destruct and destroy the whole city. And the strength difference is huge. Teammate Lin orders our hero to flee the fight immediately. She says there is always hope to fight later. Our boy looks with a smile and says he can't defeat the monster because of its superior power, but asks if the beast wants to self-destruct. Then our hero concentrates and attacks the creature with his sword, saying release. Subai uses the birdman as support and drives the sword into the monster's body. The fireman questions what that is. The fireman gets trapped in a net of blue energy with ancient scriptures. He screams and asks if that is a sealing technique. The creature asks if our MC's sword has a sealing function. The birdman flies very fast. The monster remembers his benefactor also used a very similar sealing technique. The fireman asks our MC what the name of his sword is. Our hero looks at the enemy and prepares to answer the question. Subai shouts that the name is God-slaying Blade Seal, and the weapon glows with powerful energy. The monster roars in pain upon being hit by the sealing energy. The fireman remembers the benefactor said his weapon had no name. And then he understands he was overthinking about Subai. With that, the creature calms down and realizes our MC is not the benefactor. The blue energy and scripture concentrate on the fireman's chest. The beast is trapped by the technique. Teammate Lin Wangku celebrates that the crisis is over and the hit was great. She praises our boy for being wonderful. Our MC jumps off the birdman and drives his staff into the ground near the fireman. The staff hits the water with great force, kicking up splashes all around. Our hero looks at the trapped monster and orders him to be his servant. He maintains a serious expression. Our hero Subai stands still and orders the fire monster to accept being his servant immediately. Then the chains start to tighten. Our MC notices something is wrong with the chains. The protagonist's banner starts to creak with the monkey man. The energy chain starts to flicker. The fire monster starts laughing loudly and says that even though he is sealed, his primordial spirit is still very strong. But the creature warns that a mere golden core cultivator won't be able to imprison him even using a torn banner. Thus the fireman runs away, breaking free from the seal, refusing to become our MC's servant. Our hero Subai realizes the level difference between them was too big, and the 10,000 souls banner didn't hold the beast. The protagonist insists and tells the fireman to go into his banner to regain freedom, or else he will live in the sword's purgatory. The fireman laughs mockingly and asks if the kid thinks he can have him as a servant because he swore to be a slave only to his benefactor. The creature then changes its expression and shouts that Subai doesn't deserve to be his lord, because he isn't the benefactor. Our hero looks at the monster with a gaze of pure fury, understanding that talking won't work. Then our boy pulls the sheath of his god-slaying blade. The protagonist shouts for the fireman to go live his days in the sword forever since he didn't accept the staff. With the sword stuck in the ground, the fireman screams in despair, saying he doesn't want to be sealed inside the weapon. The fire creature continues the scream of pain, saying he doesn't want to be imprisoned in the god-slaying blade. At that moment, our hero's sword glows intensely with its red eye and absorbs the monster's spirit. The protagonist walks away from the fight with his sheathed sword, while Lin watches everything very closely nearby. Next, Lin asks if the mission is completely over. Lin answers with a very big smile, saying yes, the danger ended at that moment. Our boy stands with the Knight of the Underworld by his side, and Lin celebrates, saying his feat was too incredible. The Knight of the Underworld and the Birdman praise our hero for his strength, saying Yangtze City is free of disaster-level monsters. The suspicious Lin gets closer to the protagonist and warns that there are other commander-level monsters nearby. Our hero stays silent for a moment, looking at the sword in his hands. The protagonist then asks how many commander-level monsters exist in the city and where they are hiding. The fireman who is sealed appears in the sword and replies he won't help him find his old battle colleagues. However, the protagonist declares that even without the monster's help, he can hunt and eliminate all the other monsters. He continues the conversation, saying the fire monster is just a vessel for him to collect the spirit of heaven and earth. The fire monster is sealed, so it is useless to Subai now, but our hero asks him if the spirit of heaven and earth are human essence and blood. The fireman replies he had no choice since there is no spiritual energy there, and he needs to get strong to return to his world. Next, the monster comments that Subai isn't from this world and asks if his technique absorbs spiritual energy from heaven and earth. Our hero replies that the monster talks too much and the source of his energy makes zero difference. The scene cuts to some scared survivors, and a man says what happened is unbelievable. The man comments that a young guy eliminated the demon with his sword and wonders if it was the mantis or the humanoid monster. The man with the hammer confirms that all monsters were eliminated by the hero. People are shocked and wonder if the humanoid monster was also taken out, and then people realize they are free and start crying with emotion. With that, a man holding a child cries and asks if they are free. The hammer man smiles and confirms they are free from all the evil that was happening there. Quickly, everyone celebrates, jumping and shouting that freedom finally arrived in that destroyed place. The hammer man says the hero promised to eliminate all monsters, but doesn't know where the other evil beasts are. So he warns they need to help the young heroes and give the information to the newcomers. He asks who is willing to take the information, but people are afraid it might be a new trick by the monsters. People look at each other suspiciously, because the monsters are too smart to be caught easily with this. A foot appears over people's heads, descending the hideout stairs. Then a boy stands up and announces he will deliver the information. If it's a trap, he accepts his fate. Otherwise, he will be completely free and won't fear monsters anymore. First, the scene shows a scenario of total destruction with floodwater taking over the streets. At that moment, a boy comes out of the crowd and asks our hero and his team to wait, because he needs to say something. With that, the boy thanks Subai for eliminating the monsters and guarantees the entire population of Yangtze City will remember the deed. He offers a scroll with the city map containing valuable info on all monsters, saying this will help eliminate the demons. Our MC becomes thoughtful and notices the boy's forehead glowing, indicating he is blessed and chosen by divine destiny. Our boy approaches the kid and extends his hand to receive the scroll with the monster map. Then our hero touches the boy's head, and a strong light wraps the child with a protective aura. Our MC says there's a special connection between them, and with that, he grants the boy a unique opportunity. Next, the sealed fireman spirit gets agitated, sensing the boy's aura and thinks he felt something similar before. The monster spirit remembers his benefactor taught him this same technique and is surprised. Our hero looks at the fire spirit on his shoulder and questions why he is so agitated. Then the hammer man takes the scrolls from Subai and distributes the maps to all the other survivors there. Our hero calls the 4 servants: Knight of the Underworld, Birdman, Iron Fist, and Gu King, to eliminate the commander-level monsters in every direction of the city. The 4 servants are grinning from ear to ear, guaranteeing the mission will be accomplished to the Lord's satisfaction. With that, the Birdman flies off, telling our MC to wait for the good news, and the servants run excitedly to the final combat. The young hero looks at our MC and guarantees he will remember his face forever. With that, our hero just smiles confidently because he knows the boy wants to become like him in the future. At that moment, Wang Zongyang is sitting on the ground complaining, feeling bothered by something. He looks to the side and thinks that a disaster-level monster fell, but the physical body wasn't completely destroyed. Wang Zongyang gets irritated with Master Subai and plots that by obtaining the body of the disaster-level monster, our hero's downfall will be total. The The scene changes, and the Knight of the Underworld attacks a giant lizard monster with many teeth screaming in pain. The Knight of the Underworld then lands a powerful blow on the monster. The spectral servant absorbs the monster's soul and praises that Old Wu's soul is too delicious for his palate. Then the Knight of the Underworld picks up a turtle shell and smiles, saying it seems very useful and he'll take it for himself. The scene cuts to Iron Fist attacking a giant wolf with claws, showing his brutality. Iron Fist concentrates and feels his strength and speed increased significantly after a violent attack. Servant Iron Fist looks at a wolf claw and says it is a treasure, guaranteeing he won't fail his master. Meanwhile, the Knight of the Underworld, Gu King, Iron Fist, and Birdman return and tell our hero the mission was accomplished in all areas of the city. Our MC just nods, showing he liked his servant's results. And then Wang Zongyang offers Lin the turtle shell and the wolf claw for her to try absorbing the artifacts. Teammate Lin gets excited receiving the artifacts and says the Knight of the Underworld and Iron Fist understand her very well. She grabs the turtle shell and tries to absorb the spiritual energy, feeling very satisfied. Lin Wangku grabs the shell and thinks this carapace is wonderful and very comfortable for her to use in battle. The teammate thanks all of Subai's servants for their generosity. Then Wang Zongyang tells Lin Wangku she should thank Lord RMC because he ordered it. Lin looks at our boy and thinks he is a cold man on the outside, but has a good heart and is even a little handsome. The fireman spirit observes the servant's loyalty and thinks our hero has a lot of skill to achieve this. The spirit laments that his benefactor was betrayed by all his disciples and wonders how he would be now. Subai notices the monster grumbling and asks what he is talking about, but the spirit replies angrily for him to stay out of it. Then our MC decides to rest and orders everyone to rest to digest the spiritual energy absorbed from the fight. Meanwhile in the city, people celebrate the restored peace and say they can finally go home. The crowd thinks about erecting a monument to honor the heroes but wonders what the guy's name is. Wang Zongyang then appears in front of the monkey man's body. He is surprised to see the monster's meat pieces reassembled there and wonders which master is capable of beating calamities easily. Then Wang Zongyang smirks and thinks that despite everything, he gained a lot from this whole situation. Wang Zongyang grabs a sword in his hand with determination for what is to come. He drives the sword into the ground, making a blood oath to restore the monster's body. With that, the masked man makes the golden alliance with the fallen monster for his revenge plans. He guarantees that if something goes out of his control, heaven and earth won't tolerate the failure in his evil plan.